Chapter 1101. The sorrowful wails of many dead souls suddenly rang out from the bottom of the soul-transforming pool. The souls of the beings that had died in thousand-bird realm hadn't dissipated into the world. They seemed to have all been collected by the soul-transforming pool and hadn't been refined. They howled and shrieked in an attempt to escape the soul-transforming pool. Unfortunately, it was just a futile effort. Whoosh! The pitch-black cauldron floated above Yu Yuan's head. The moment he stepped onto the bottom of the pool, he communicated with Yu Yi mentally. Then, he saw that the acupoints in his chest that had been opened by the Yin sunflower essence were flowing with abundant Yin energy. In the next moment, one after another, illusory fiendish demons that could be seen with the naked eye poured over like a waterfall. These fiendish demons that hadn't been refined into bodies temporarily entered the acupoints he had opened, like gods and devils returning to their places. The illusory fiendish demons were in the form of souls. Under Yu Yi's guidance, they merged with his acupoints and provided him with an inexhaustible supply of soul energy. The sword marks on the walls of the soul-transforming pool that was releasing black soul energy also released crimson divine light because of Yu Yuan's arrival. Yu Yuan's mind moved slightly. He took out the scabbard and held it with both hands. The sword marks engraved on his arm bones were unbearably hot. They started to absorb his flesh, blood, soul thought, and pure spirit energy. Crimson sword light gradually gathered in the meridians in his arms. Taking a deep breath, Yu Yuan suddenly felt that he could still endure the three types of power that the sword mark had extracted from him, including blood essence and spirit energy. As for spiritual energy, he was lacking too much. After all, his true cultivation was only at the soul-traversing realm. The refinement and accumulation of his soul was far inferior to that of his physical body with the life altar. Fortunately, Yu Yi was prepared. She had arranged for many soul-fiendish demons to enter his acupoint. Every time he ran out of soul energy, they gave him follow-up support so that he wouldn't run out of soul energy. At the four corners of the pool, the four experts of the Shenhun sect, led by Tianzong, were watching over them closely, not daring to relax for even a moment. Under the beaded curtain, Chen Qinghuang, who was controlling the destructive fortress, also looked extremely serious. Having come to a conclusion, she didn't look at Yu Yuan anymore. She paid close attention to every move of Shura of Gojoseon and Sabonis in the Golden War Chariot. At this moment, Sabonis was using his refined qi and blood to forge a golden broadsword from hundreds of different metals. He was wantonly destroying the group of towering divine mountains formed by President Li's Dharma idol. Mountains and rivers were severed, shattered, and shattered one after another. President Li relied on the metal power that kept surging out of the throne and continued to repair the broken divine mountain, restoring it back to its original position. Their battle never stopped. It was still in full swing, and Sabonis firmly held the upper hand. After Yu Yuan took his seat in the soul-melting pool, Shura of Gojoseon learned of the Shenhun sect's plan. So they want to take back that sword. The depths of Shura of Gojoseon's cold eyes were like a pool of stagnant water. There weren't many ripples of emotion. He only frowned slightly and shook his head. The Shenhun sect is looking down on me too much if they want to rely on two peak Freedom Realm experts to take the sword from my dark domain without a god king. Swish, 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 swish. Golden arrows suddenly exploded from the Golden War Chariot beneath him and shot in the direction of the destructive fortress, as if to destroy all obstacles. At the same time, the giant golden broadsword, together with the rain of arrows, madly cut through the divine mountains formed by President Li's Dharma idol, cutting down several peaks in an instant. Fine cracks suddenly appeared on the golden throne that held President Li's Dharma idol. Clearly, after Shura of Gojoseon truly showed his strength, President Li, who hadn't reached the nascent divinity realm, couldn't contend against Sabonis, even with the help of Jun Chen's constellation array. Sabonis' sudden show of strength was to make it impossible for President Lee to stop the rain of golden arrows. He wanted to kill all living beings near the destructive fortress with the rain of golden arrows. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The turbid demon fetus below the blood spirit altar that Tian Tsang stood on condensed into a sticky blue shadow that enveloped the destructive fortress, the soul-melting pool, the heavenly demon green nightmare, Emperor Han Tian and He Sun. The golden arrows of light entered the turbid fiend fetus and were corroded by the superpowers that were mixed with countless impurities and toxins. The sharp golden light was worn down. The blood spirit altar was a divine weapon of war forged by the heavenly demons from another realm with the power of an entire race. As the true master of the blood spirit altar, Tian Tsang was a ghost king who was well versed in many of the heavenly demons' secret soul magics. Even so, the blood spirit altar barely withstood one wave of the rain of golden arrows from Sabonis, Shura of Gojoseon. However, the turbid demon fetus was riddled with holes, with countless holes that looked like wormholes. Summon the divine sword. After a muffled groan, Tian Tsang shouted at Yu Yuan from inside the turbid demon fetus. That was because Sabonis, Shura of Gojoseon, had suddenly ignored President Lee and rushed towards the destructive fortress in his golden chariot. At the bottom of the soul pool, Yu Yuan gripped his scabbard tightly with both hands as he was completely engulfed by crimson sword energy. He narrowed his eyes and felt the pool's amplification of his soul. Many fiendish devils had entered his acupoints, giving him a tremendous amount of soul energy and perception. Then, under the guidance of his sword soul, he swung his sword and let out a soul cry. As he swung his sword, a river of crimson sword energy instantly left the turbid demon fetus and slashed towards the deepest darkness. The darkness around the death lair was like a black sea that was cut apart by the river of crimson sword energy. The deep pit and the undying bird's nest in the deep pit became clear in an instant. The boundless darkness was forcibly split in two by the river of crimson sword energy that stretched across the lair. Moreover, it was pushed back to the sides by the sword intent. The rank 7 Azura warriors that had gathered near the nest were hit by the sword light's power, and a large number of them died instantly. In the depths of the darkness, Lin Zhuyun let out an extremely shrill scream. She seemed to have been attacked by the sword energy as well. Sinton, a rank 9 Azura like Fernan, distanced himself from the death lair in fear. His body was covered in wounds of varying degrees. Clearly, he had been injured by the sword energy. Yu Yuan, enveloped in the soul pool and the fiendish devil's soul energy, suddenly let out a cry. That cry came to an abrupt end. It seemed that the dragon beheading platform floating above the lair had swallowed it and absorbed it. Then, through this strange divine stone, it had been strengthened by more than 10 times and given the remnant power of the dragon of space and time. Come back! The cry that penetrated the boundless space and was amplified by the dragon beheading platform flowed towards the border between the death lair and the dark domain cold well. Countless cries of "come back" suddenly came from the mysterious dark domain. It was a strange place that was extremely difficult for the beings of the outside world to enter. In the depths of the pure darkness, there was an upheaval that could cause mountains to collapse and the earth to split open. However, the beings of the thousand-bird realm could not see it. Inside the soul-dissolving pool, Yu Yuan swung her sword according to the guidance of the sword spirit. After letting out a cry, she sat down on the ground with a thud, feeling exhausted. The fiendish devils that had entered his acupoints seemed to have overdrawn their soul energy and returned to the small world inside the cauldron. The sword marks on the walls of the pool were still as deep as ever, but they no longer released crimson light. The scabbard in Yu Yuan's hand was devoid of any sword beam. His arm bone was still burning unbearably, and his sword soul was still yearning for something. However, there was not a single bit of sword energy left in his meridians. He had only swung his sword once, but that sword had gathered all the power he could and could not use. The sword slashed open the darkness and saw the lair, the dragon beheading platform, and the dark domain cold well. Because of this, a strange soul sound was transmitted to the dragon beheading platform. Narrowing his eyes, the strange divine stone seemed to have become a manifestation of his consciousness for a short time. With the help of the dragon beheading platform, he felt the dark domain. It was as if his soul was wandering in absolute darkness, and he could feel a collapsed ice mountain that looked like a giant blade shaking violently. Then, large chunks of ice were shaken away from the ice mountain, gradually revealing the original shape of the ice mountain. It was an incomparably sharp giant divine sword. The divine sword was currently swallowing the rumbling return sounds from the dark domain. It was like a hibernator that had slept for thousands of years, being constantly shouted by someone's ear. Every return sound was sent into the divine sword and received after it sensed it. During this process, the burning sensation in Yu Yuan's arm bone seemed to be affected by the dark domain's cold energy, and slowly became less hot. The sword's soul's desire, its soul rippled, and strangely changed. The sword's soul was weakening, disappearing, or rather, leaving him after a while. Yu Yuan could no longer sense the sword's soul's existence. However, through the dragon beheading platform, he learned that the giant divine sword in the dark domain was quietly shrinking and changing. As the divine sword shrank, a fierce sword intent that could tear the void apart gradually grew stronger. Yu Yuan went blank for a moment before suddenly coming to his senses. Then, he jerked his head towards Tiansong, anger filling his face. The sword's soul had been mysteriously taken away from his arm bones and entered the mysterious dark domain through the dragon beheading platform and the hidden tunnel that connected to it. He also entered the interior of the divine sword. He had obtained the sword's soul from the forbidden land of the fallen moon. It had accompanied him and helped him countless times, but now it had left him, as if it had nothing to do with him anymore. How could he not be angry? He had a feeling that the person behind the scenes from the Shunhun sect was using it to get the heaven-raising sword. If the sword's soul doesn't enter the dark domain, the divine sword won't be able to return on its own, Tiansong explained with a serious expression. Don't worry. This divine sword will only belong to you. Lulu, Beirut, Mia, and Zhonglida blocked Tiansong's path to the Shura of Gojoseon in the sky. Wash the Thousand Birds realm with blood. Chapter 1102. After Sabonis said this angrily, all the Dark Realm Azuras hiding in the darkness charged out resolutely. In the absolute cold darkness, the Azura warrior's strength was increased, and the combat power of the other races was weakened. Originally, he only needed to spread the darkness to the entire Thousand-Bird realm. When the sky and earth of this realm were completely swallowed by the darkness, the Dark Realm Azura could easily kill all the enemies. Also, his side would not suffer too much damage. But now, Sabonis sensed the abnormality in the Dark Realm, the struggle of the divine sword, and the fact that Yu Yuan had gathered all her strength to split open the darkness and expose the lair of death. Sabonis smelled the scent of conspiracy and danger, so he had no time to care about the death of his subordinates. His order to wash Thousand-Bird realm in blood caused the Dark Realm Azuras hiding in the darkness to come out. When the clansmen of different races saw hundreds of thousands of Dark Realm Shuras step out of the darkness one by one, they realized that the warriors who had entered the Dark Realm this time were actually Sabonis's core team, his personal guards, and the iron-blooded warriors who had accompanied him in his expeditions. Kill! The Dark Realm Azuras roared in unison, and the flood of killing intent that gathered shook the rocky land of Thousand-Bird realm that was no longer wide. At the same time, the mutated monsters and Een corpses seemed to have received orders from the great demon god Grek and the Een corpse king respectively, and suddenly became crazy. Protect the Holy Maiden! The armored warriors of the light race surrounded Canly in the center and blocked the attacks of the mutated monsters and e'en corpses without fear of death. The rank 8 light race clansmen exploded like the sun and died one by one. They self-detonated their bodies. Their blood was like divine crystals, instantly forming a terrifying halo of light. The dense crowd of mutated monsters and e'en corpses were blown up, not even leaving behind bones. A rank 9 warrior holding a battle-axe and covered in silver armor knelt on one knee in front of Canly. Pillars of light shot up into the sky from the warrior's body, turning the attacking monsters into a bloody mist before they could even get close to him. The powerful warrior kneeling on the ground gradually turned into a huge light source. Canly stood behind him, her left palm gently resting on his head. Canly gently closed her eyes and activated the magical power of the life altar in her body. Using the kneeling level 9 bright light race expert as her energy source, she began to perform the bright light race's earth-shaking bloodline ability. Illuminate the earth. Balls of dazzling light flew out from the body of the kneeling level 9 warrior, carrying a pure and holy aura that could purify all the filth and darkness in the world. Dozens of light sources that covered an area of more than 10 acres rolled into the depths of the darkness like bright crystals. Wherever those light sources passed, the darkness was expelled, neutralized, and purified. In midair, Shura of Gojosian Sabonis, who was intercepted by Zhongli De, Lu, Beirut, and the others, harumphed. His expression turned even colder. Starry Sky Veil. Li Ao of the Star Clan had only level 8 bloodline. He sat down and used a voice that no one else could hear. The robe on his body slowly flew into the air and gradually spread out. There were clusters of nebulas on the robe, and countless small stars seemed to be inside them. At this moment, they were shining with mysterious and pure starlight. Using the life altar in his body as a primer, they forcibly pulled the power of the universe that didn't belong to the Annihilation star realm into this world. Under the realm barrier of Thousand Bird Realm, countless tiny dots of light suddenly appeared in the sky. The dots of light flashed one after another, and they were like miniature stars in outer realms. Junchen, who was fighting the grand devil god Garek, had manifested his 3,000-meter-tall Dharma idol. His willpower was already on the verge of collapsing under the impact of the boundless flesh aura. However, all of a sudden, he felt his soul sea become clear again. He calmed himself down and looked around. Then, he saw dazzling rivers of stars, which had been shrunk billions of times, appearing around him. The dried-up star energy reserves in his acupoints were quickly replenished. His combat strength increased dramatically because of this. Li Ao, the son of the stars. Junchen took a deep breath and looked at Li Ao, who was as small as a mustard seed to him. Thinking of the miraculous scene of his birth and the many legends about him, he murmured, "He's indeed the chosen one of the heavens, the darling of the boundless universe. The altar he was born with has endless magical uses." As he murmured, his avatar made a gesture of embracing the world. A dazzling river of stars with millions of fragmentary stars flying in a specific trajectory took shape in front of his chest. The giant spirit monster that great demon god Garek had possessed was swallowed in a blink of an eye. In the vast galaxy in his chest, it was crushed like a millstone driven by the gods. The third-generation Titan spirit, who had once reached level 10, was immediately reduced to a bloody mess and its bones shattered. Crack, crack. Amidst the hair-raising sounds of bones cracking, this giant demon god, who had become 100 meters tall because of a third of the great demon god's power, was crushed alive. Only blood was left in the dazzling galaxy. No matter how hard Junchen tried, it showed no signs of melting. That was the true essence of great demon god Garek's blood. Outside the realm, the primal Chaos Koan, who had revealed its true form, looked coldly at the blood-colored sea with a pair of unique eyes formed by refining the sun and the cold moon. One red eye and the other white eye were filled with curiosity and anticipation. "Why aren't you going in?" The primal Chaos Koan's voice slowly sounded in the galaxy outside Thousand Bird Realm, and then spread, shaking the entire Annihilation star system so that all the powerful beings in this star system could hear it clearly. He was talking to the blood-colored sea. Great demon god Garek's snort came from the blood sea outside the realm. It also resounded in the inner realm, where Jun Chun was hugging the brilliant galaxy. Then, the blood-colored sea outside the realm suddenly disappeared. In the realm inside the realm, the blood-colored sea in front of Jun Chen's chest surged, shaking with the smell of flesh and blood origin. It was as if the essence blood of all the races was boiling in that blood-colored sea, bubbling as if a new being could be born inside. It could also assimilate the existing, inferior, and unadaptable races into it. This blood-red sea shook violently within the brilliant river of stars, setting off tsunami-like blood-red waves that smashed numerous broken stars into dust and starlight. Jun Chen's most powerful strike, the most powerful spell he had learned, and the enhancement of Leo, the son of the stars, had all been destroyed in an instant by the arrival of the great devil god, Garek. Countless streaks of blood-red light also exploded from Jun Chen's 1,000-foot avatar, causing Jun Chen to stagger in the void. He stumbled and fell toward a realm of Thousand-Bird Realm that was annihilated by darkness. Seeing the unfavorable situation, Kenli strengthened the power of her bloodline magic. In front of her, the Radiant Race expert was kneeling on one knee. His face under the mask was bleeding non-stop, but she ignored it and continued to squeeze the man's remaining strength. More light flew out of the warrior's body and fell on the place where Jun Chen's 1,000-foot Dharma form landed. The arrival of the light drove away the darkness, allowing Jun Chen, who was lying flat on the ground and smashed a few small mountains, to quickly adapt and stand up. After standing up again, Jun Chen was mostly covered in darkness from his waist down. However, Jun Chen quickly adjusted his state of mind. He watched as the blood-colored sea in the sky gradually shrank and condensed into the true form of the great devil god Garek. Grek has fully arrived. He's no longer a part of his strength. Jun Chen infuriated him. The few outsiders who were still alive looked up at the sky and saw the changes in the blood-colored sea. They took deep breaths, feeling both scared and honored. Even if they died in the Thousand Birds realm, they would be able to see the Azura King and Greg. They would be able to reveal their true forms and use their full strength. They would feel that they had no regrets. After all, most of them wouldn't be able to see either of them for the rest of their lives. Be careful. At this moment, Tian Song looked at Yu Yuan, who seemed to be a bit dissatisfied with him, and said with a forced smile, "You're a member of the Shenhun sect. How would I dare to hurt you?" Yu Yuan's face was cold, but he didn't say anything. The development of the situation had gone beyond everyone's expectations. He couldn't figure out what the Shenhun sect and the Tongtian Trading Company were planning, and what they wanted. Perhaps the heaven-piercing sword was only one purpose. What else? Almost everyone who should be here is here. With how timid the Chaos Koan is, I'm afraid it's impossible for it to have gone crazy with the Azura King and Garek. Chen Qinghuang's beautiful face under the bead curtain showed a mocking smile as she talked about the Chaos Koan's timidity. As soon as she opened her mouth, she immediately attracted everyone's attention. However, when they turned their heads to look, they were surprised to find that she had left the Fortress of Destruction and disappeared. Everyone, including Yu Yuan, naturally went to look for her. Then, they found that she was standing in the air above the Lair of Death, without any warning. Chen Qinghuang. Chapter 1103. Chen Qinghuang. Many gazes that were originally focused on the great demonic god Grek suddenly began to shift, falling into the depths of the darkness. There, a spectacle was slowly unfolding. The death lair was split open by a wide crimson sword river, and the darkness in the center of the lair faded away. The Sword River caused many Dark Domain Azura to be affected, either dead or injured. After the sword strike, Yu Yuan reconnected with the dragon beheading platform, and a shout penetrated the boundless space and reached the Dark Domain. The sword's soul that had fused with his arm bone for many years also entered the Dark Domain through the dragon beheading platform and the hidden passageway that connected the lair and the Dark Domain, charging towards the sword that supported the heavens. After that, Sabonis sensed that something was wrong with the Dark Domain and gave the order to massacre the Thousand-Bird Realm. The great demonic god Grek was also forced to carry out a complete descent. The wide Crimson Sword River that was left above the lair was attacked by Sabonis' strengthened dark ability. The Crimson Sword River made chi-chi sounds, and endless sword light and Dark Domain cold energy tore at each other, clashing thousands of times every second, wearing down each other's strength. However, just as the Crimson Sword River was fighting with the absolute cold darkness, Chen Qinghuang suddenly descended. Her descent was so shocking and eye-catching. The Dharma idol she displayed even surpassed the commotion caused by the arrival of the great demonic god Grek in the Thousand-Bird Realm. Chen Qinghuang's current Dharma idol was hundreds of feet tall. It was not as majestic as Junchen, nor was it as majestic as President Li's Divine Mountain. However, she had 3 heads and 6 arms. Her face that was facing the outside was still wearing a dragon robe and an emperor's crown. Her face under the bead curtain did not appear, but it exuded a boundless vitality, as if it could be revived at any time. This Chen Qinghuang crossed his hands in front of his towering chest. His entire body flowed with brilliant light, sacred and inviolable. The one on the left, Chen Qinghuang, revealed a ferocious and ruthless face that could destroy all living things. She waved her hands, sending out clusters of destructive flames that forced Sinton, who was guarding this place, to retreat with a furious howl. Even when he disappeared into the darkness, his body was still being burned by the flames. Chen Qinghuang, who possessed the power of destruction, was like the god of destruction. Wherever he looked, everything would explode and shatter. It was as if all realms, stars, and heaven and earth were about to explode because of her. On the right, Chen Qinghuang's beautiful face was pale and lusterless. Her eyes were wreathed in the aura of death, as if all living beings with fleshly intelligence should not be allowed to live in this world. They should all walk into the abyss of death. She was like a god who controlled death. Her other hand gently grasped the Dark Domain cold well as she looked at concubine Han, who was stuck at the mouth of the well. She casually waved her other hand and slapped Lin Zhuyun, who had just sneaked up on her, until she was bathed in blood and thrown into the depths of the darkness as if she was driving away a fly. Chen Qinghuang, who was hundreds of meters tall, had 3 heads and 6 arms, but shared a physical body. The front side was filled with rich life force and controlled the immortal bird's power of nirvana and rebirth. Chen Qinghuang, who was on the left, controlled destruction and seemed to be able to destroy all things. She, who was on the right, controlled death. The meaning of her existence seemed to be to wipe out all living things and destroy the world. Chen Qinghuang, who was one with the 3 of them, fell into the death lair like Consort Han was stuck in the well. Rich death power poured madly into the lair from all directions of the Thousand Birds realm. White flowers of death slowly bloomed at the edge of the lair. The power released by Chen Qinghuang was injected into the flowers of death, making it difficult for the darkness outside to penetrate. Xiu's withering sword and the death crane, who had joined the Chamber of Commerce, sensed it at the same time. Not long ago, the experts of various races who had died in the Thousand Birds realm, including Azuras, mutated monsters, and corpses, were all devoured by the death lair under Chen Qinghuang's strange Dharma idol like a giant whale sucking in water. They were all absorbed into the lair in an instant. Chen Qinghuang, who was holding the Dark Domain cold well in the death hand, raised his head slightly and looked at Sabonis. The high and mighty Sabonis stopped fighting Zhongli de Pan, Lu, Beirut and Mia. He did not even continue to destroy the divine mountains formed by President Li's Dharma idol. He even let the huge golden chariot sink a little so that it could be on par with Chen Qinghuang's Dharma idol. The Shura of Gojoseon gave Chen Qinghuang the highest respect. Hey! He! After the current patriarch of the blood demon race completely descended, he turned into a middle-aged man with a beard that covered most of his face. He wore a blood-red robe, and his body looked incomparably majestic. A pair of strange eyes that constantly changed colors between dark red, and orange fell on Chen Qinghuang. Like Sabonis, he was deeply surprised by Chen Qinghuang's current appearance. The Empress of the Blue Phoenix Empire. The Empress who abdicated her throne and fell to the Sun Spirit realm after dispersing her cultivation. Then, she became the Empress again in the outer realms of stars. She used to be the nightmare of the other races. She is also the sharpest sword in the hands of the 5 supreme forces. When did she become so strong? The evil cultivators in Howren, such as Lady Peach, Thousand Tribulations Ghost King, and Tan Yuan, looked at Chen Qinghuang, who had 3 heads and 6 arms, and almost dropped their jaws in shock. Yu Yuan kept breathing deeply to adjust his shocked state of mind. He was also shocked by Princess Qing Luan at this moment. Chen Qinghuang, Ghost King Tiantsang, He Sun, Heavenly Demon Green Nightmare, and even President Li and Jun Chen shouted one after another, and their expressions changed drastically. Tiantsang, He Sun, and Green Nightmare represented the Shenhun sect and listened to the Master of the Bronze Coffin. President Li and Jun Chen were the leaders of the Chamber of Commerce. They and the Divine King had long planned to achieve an unspeakable goal through the 1,000-bird realm. When Shura of Gojoseon arrived, they were not shocked. When Demon King Grek appeared, their expressions did not change. When darkness was about to drown the 1,000-bird realm, they were still calm and composed. But now, because of Chen Qinghuang's magical 3-headed and 6-armed Dharma idol, and because they fell into the nest, their expressions changed. It seemed that the first accident that exceeded their expectations had finally happened. What do you want to do? Shura of Gojoseon, Sabonis, and Tongtian Trading Company's President Li asked Chen Qinghuang the same thing at the same time. President Li's mountain-like Dharma idol had been withdrawn, and he had turned into a normal human form, sitting high on the throne. He and Sabonis looked at Chen Qinghuang together. Go. Chen Qinghuang, who was clenching the dark realm cold well with the hand of death, let out a soft cry. The mouth of the crystal-like well cracked open, and concubine Han broke free from it. Consort Han and Chen Qinghuang's faces of death looked at each other and suddenly disappeared. A wisp of coldness came, and Yu Yuan immediately knew that Consort Han had used the connection between her and the baleful demon cauldron to return to the small world inside the cauldron in a breath's time after becoming the strongest baleful demon. Sorry. Chen Qinghuang shook his head and said this apologetically to President Li and Sabonis. The face in front of her, covered by the bead curtain, seemed to be looking at Yu Yuan and saying the same thing. Crack! She clenched her hand of death tightly, and the strange dark realm cold well immediately cracked, turning into pieces of ice and cold stones that were thrown to the ground drowned in darkness. No. Don't you dare! President Li and Shura of Gojoseon shouted in unison. Chen Qinghuang didn't seem to hear them at all. The her in the main body gently held the dragon beheading platform with both hands and pulled it upward. There seemed to be a sticky ripple between the dragon beheading platform and the lair that she pulled with this method. Here you go. After all the connections were broken, she grabbed the dragon beheading platform with one hand and threw it to Yu Yuan. A golden light and a blood-colored grid instantly formed in the space she threw with her hand, trying to stop the dragon beheading platform from leaving. President Li, Shura of Gojoseon, and the great demon god Grek were the ones who made the move. However, the dragon beheading platform appeared in the fortress of destruction that she had refined in an instant, and then flashed into Yu Yuan's hand in the soul-dissolving pool. Before the dragon beheading platform could be obtained, the strange perception between Yu Yuan and the dark realm had already been cut off. Yu Yuan, who was holding the dragon beheading platform again, looked at the location of the death lair and faintly heard cracking sounds. Then, he realized that the tunnel connecting the dark realm and the thousand-bird realm had been mercilessly broken because Chen Qinghuang had entered it, because of the power she controlled, and because of her fusion with the nest. All the dark realm Asuras had no way out. They could no longer return, including Shura of Gojoseon and Sabonis. The sword soul that had entered it had completely cut off contact with Yu Yuan. He had no way of knowing what would happen to the divine sword later. Chen Qinghuang had single-handedly created a new situation and disrupted the arrangements of all parties, causing everyone to be surprised and shocked. ***, I'm in good shape. Chapter 1104. Princess Qing Luan, who was standing in the lair of death, was fearless in the face of Sabonis' rage and President Li's scolding. It seemed that no existence in the universe could threaten her or make her feel afraid. Whether it was Shura of Gojoseon or the great demon god Grek, they were not enough to affect her will and change her decision. The dragon beheading platform was returned to Yu Yuan by her. The dark domain cold well was crushed by her. The passageway that connected to the dark domain had also collapsed because of her power. At this moment, the lair of death had returned to her control. The flowers of death that bloomed at the edge of the lair grew vigorously, and the power of death rippled outwards. The absolute cold darkness was actually melted by the power of death and gradually dispersed. The three-headed and six-armed Empress Dharma idol hovered above the lair, unmoving. The power of death, destruction, and regeneration surrounded the three parts of the Dharma idol. Sabonis, President Li, Junchen, and the great demon god Grek were all moved. The aura of Princess Qing Luan, who had refined and merged with the lair of death, could not be underestimated. They also had a feeling that if Chen Qinghuang saw that the situation was not good, with just a thought, he could get rid of the thousand-bird realm, leave the annihilation star field, and appear in the lair of destruction that soared in the universe. No one, no existence, could stop her from leaving. The boundary wall of the thousand-bird realm did not have much of an impact on her at this moment. You have comprehended the three divine paths left behind by the immortal bird to such an extent. Sabonis' golden body stood on the chariot, at the same level as Chen Qinghuang's face of death. As Shura of Gojoseon spoke, he looked at the darkness that was pouring in from the dark domain and was being eroded by the power of death. He became more and more irritated. He knew very well that the passageway connecting the dark domain and the thousand-bird realm had been destroyed by Chen Qinghuang. Because of Chen Qinghuang's actions, the Shura army, which could attack and retreat, had completely cut off their retreat. There would not be more cold energy of the dark domain pouring into the thousand-bird realm. As he had thought, this realm would be engulfed, allowing him to easily deal with all his opponents. If the dark domain's cold energy drowned the entire thousand-bird realm, he would not be afraid even if the Divine King descended. But now, Sabonis frowned slightly and began to examine the new situation. Countless electric currents were intertwined in his golden eyes. Chen Qinghuang, you ruined my plans. President Li, who was sitting on the golden throne, had a gloomy expression on his face as he questioned Lu Xian. After the passage between the Dark Realm and the Thousand-Bird Realm was destroyed, the heaven-raising sword, which had been lost in the extreme cold and darkness, couldn't travel through the passage. Yu Yuan summoned it back with the help of the dragon beheading platform, the soul-transforming pool, and the evil demon cauldron. One of the plans of the Chamber of Commerce and the Shenhun sect had failed because of this. The Sky Sword was in the most mysterious dark domain in the world, and Shura of Gojoseon, Sabonis, had been guarding the dark domain all year round. Who could take the sky sword away from Sabonis's hands in the dark domain? Even Nye Qingtian back then did not have such power. It was not easy to lure Shura of Gojoseon out of the dark domain. After careful arrangements, he let the sword spirit enter the dark domain. Relying on many ingenuity, he guided the sky sword in the direction so that the divine sword could return. Who would have thought that Qin Qinghuang would interfere and disrupt the plans of the Shenhun sect and the Chamber of Commerce? Not all of them are bad. The side of Princess Qing Luan that was reborn faced the golden throne and said indifferently, "Look, Shura of Gojoseon will not be able to return to the dark domain for a while. And the sword spirit of the divine sword has merged with it. Once the sword spirit has merged with it, the divine sword has gained wisdom and spirituality. It can take advantage of Shura of Gojoseon's absence to get out of the dark domain. The sky sword will eventually pierce through the boundary wall of the dark domain and return to the outer Star River." As she said this, her eyes under the beaded curtain seemed to be looking at Yu Yuan and the scabbard in Yu Yuan's hand. The sword spirit knows Yu Yuan and can also sense the location of the scabbard. After the divine sword leaves the dark domain, after a long journey through the outer Star River, it will eventually find Yu Yuan one day. At that time, Yu Yuan may really have the power to control the divine sword. But not now. As soon as these words came out, the expressions on the faces of President Li and Ghost King Tian-tsang were a little unnatural. "You?" Tian-tsang licked the corner of his mouth and looked deeply at Princess Qing Luan. He wanted to say something, but stopped on second thought. "I know that someone wants to borrow the divine sword," Chen Qinghuang said in a faint voice. "They want to use the divine sword to kill everyone and quell the chaos. But that person isn't the owner of the divine sword, nor is he its successor." She sneered and said, "If the divine sword returns and falls into Yu Yuan's hands first and is used by Yu Yuan, perhaps I won't destroy it. Unfortunately, before Yu Yuan breaks through to the carefree realm, she's utterly incapable of completely controlling that sword. So..." She looked at Yu Yuan and said, "Let's wait a little longer. It's yours after all. After it breaks through the seal of the dark domain, it may take some time for it to find you. But it's better than letting you go to the dark domain and get the divine sword by yourself. No matter what realm you're at, the moment you appear in the dark domain, Sabonis will immediately detect you and instantly kill you." After saying this, she said to Sabonis with the side of death, "Isn't that right?" Shura of Gojoseon didn't comment. "Someone wants to borrow the divine sword." When she finished speaking, Yu Yuan felt something in his heart. He wondered who could control the divine sword and end this earth-shattering chaos. "Chaos Kun, how long are you going to watch?" Suddenly, the great demon god Grek grinned fiendishly. "If you don't want to come in, don't blame me for being ruthless and crushing your two pawns." After these words, Lin Zhuyun, who was covered in wounds and drowned in darkness, suddenly felt a chill. In the soul pool, Yu Yuan held the scabbard in one hand and the dragon beheading platform in the other. However, the life altar in his blood aura world was affected by Grek's power. It spun abnormally at a speed beyond his control, making him feel like his blood aura world was about to collapse. All of a sudden, many fine wounds appeared on the flesh of his chest, all of which were caused by the overflowing of his raging blood qi. Tian-tsang, He Sun, the heaven-shaking emperor, and the heavenly demon Green Nightmare couldn't help him at all. They didn't know what to do to alleviate the abnormality in his body. Whoosh! Lin Zhuyun emerged from the darkness, wrapped in a cloud of blood mist. She slowly rose into the air and appeared in front of everyone. This woman, who had too many grudges with Yu Yuan, was in a very bad state. No one knew how many bones and tendons she had broken. She was on her last breath, as if she would die in the next moment. "It's better for them to die than for me to die." A deep, hoarse voice came from the starry river. It clearly came from the primal Chaos Kuan, and everyone in the starry river could hear it clearly. Shura of Gojoseon let out a cold harumph. I've never seen a star behemoth as cowardly as you. That's why I've been able to survive until now. Didn't that supreme Titanspinosaurus, which is older and stronger than me, die a long time ago? It thought that it was invincible in the starry river, but it was beaten and seriously injured by its own kind, and died quietly, didn't it? The Void Spirit also thought that no one could kill her. She thought that she was fearless because she could pass through the void, but what happened in the end? The immortal bird thought that she could never come back to life. What about now? Didn't that deep-sea giant winged lizard travel to the most remote and lonely starry river in the starry river, where no one has lived for hundreds of millions of years? That's why it survived until now. The primal Chaos Kuan's hoarse voice was filled with mockery and disdain. Although I've been imprisoned in Howran for many years, I've always lived in the central great world of Howran. As for you two boorish men, I've seen at least 7 or 8 Shura of Gojoseon and the patriarch of the blood demon race before you. I used to have a good relationship with a few of them, much better than with the 2 of you. So what? Didn't your previous patriarchs reach rank 10 bloodline and die one after another? Only me, only me. The primal Chaos Kuan's voice grew deeper and fainter. It seemed to be further away from Thousand Bird Realm. The Peak Freedom Realm experts could feel that this star behemoth was deliberately distancing itself from Thousand Bird Realm as though it was afraid of something. The giant fish that the primal Chaos Kuan had transformed into was indeed moving further away from Thousand Bird Realm. Furthermore, he completely dispelled the idea of using his original form as a starry sky enormous beast to devour the Thousand Bird Realm. He rapidly shrank into the form of an old man and disappeared from the starry river, appearing on the meteorite where the Een Corpse King was. Master! The Een Corpse King stood respectfully behind him, his eyes filled with sincere respect. The primal Chaos Kuan narrowed his eyes and frowned. He sighed and said, I knew it would be like this. What? The Een Corpse King said in shock. Look at the realm wall, the primal Chaos Kuan said. The Een Corpse King gathered his soul thought and pure Een spirit energy into his eyes and looked. Then he took a deep breath and his expression became as bitter as the primal Chaos Kuan. Chapter 1105. The egg-shaped Thousand Bird Realm was surrounded by a realm wall that was as white as jade. It was filled with cold energy and icy light. At this moment, dense and strange inscriptions suddenly appeared on the icy and translucent boundary wall. The blue-black steels were like billions of tiny words that covered the realm wall of Thousand Bird Realm. They turned the white realm wall into the same blue-black color as the steels. All of the steels moved on the realm wall like living creatures and mercilessly devoured the marks left by the Shura of Gojoseon and Sabonis. The Een Corpse King looked at it for a while and found that the realm wall of Thousand Bird Realm had been completely transformed into a bronze color. Does it look like a coffin lid? The Chaos Kuan in human form said in a joking tone. However, the Een Corpse King, who knew him well, knew that he was in a bad mood. Yes. The Een Corpse King nodded with a bitter smile and said, I seem to have seen these steels somewhere before. In the fallen moon forbidden ground of Howran, the heavenly demon Green Nightmare refined a steel and turned it into its own body. The Chaos Kuan seemed to know everything and casually revealed the secret. In the end, the Green Nightmare submitted to that person. Of course, it had to obediently hand over the bronze steel it refined. The Een Corpse King's expression changed. The Chaos Kuan narrowed his eyes and said softly, In the abyss of chaos, when I saw the Shura of Gojoseon and Grek work together to kill the experts that were guarding the realm and Grek sneak into the fallen moon forbidden ground to stir up trouble, I knew this would happen. The Een Corpse King, who came from the Howran Great World and was later tamed by the Chaos Koan, listened attentively. You don't know the Shunhun sect. You don't know their temperament. The Chaos Koan chuckled. Not just you, Sabonis and Grek don't know much about the Shunhun sect either. After all, Sabonis and Grek hadn't been born when the godly kings dominated the universe. These two have never come into contact with the Shunhun sect. Naturally, they don't know that offending them will lead to bloody retribution. The fact that Grek and Sabonis dared to ruin the Shunhun sect's grand plan in the Demon Abyss, and even went to the Forbidden Land of the Falling Moons for a massacre, meant that the Shunhun sect was bound to launch a deliberate counterattack against them. Now that the Shunhun sect has returned, they want to establish their might and remind the races of the universe of their name. Of course, they have to do something. He paused for a moment. The Chaos Koan took a deep breath and shook its head, secretly rejoicing. Fortunately, I understand them and Taishur. The inner world of the thousand-bird realm. Yu Yuan looked up at the sky in astonishment. He saw that the dense cyan and black inscriptions had filled the realm barrier and erased Sabonis' traces of frost power. The familiar inscriptions instantly reminded him of his experience in the Forbidden Land of the Falling Moons. The scene of the person in the giant bronze coffin taking Green Nightmare, Emperor Heaven shaking, and the White Ghoul, breaking through the realm barrier of the Howran realm and rushing into the boundless universe was engraved in the deepest part of his soul. Before leaving the Howran realm, that person had left him a message. He had specifically told him to live well, and that he hoped that he could get what he wanted in this life, and that they would meet again one day. When the inscriptions appeared again, the life altar in his body instantly returned to its original state. The great demon god Grek's altar in his body seemed to be bound by the new laws of heaven and earth, and could no longer affect him. What President Li and Junchen couldn't do was as easy as flipping a hand for that person. This was the difference between the peak of the Freedom Realm and the God King realm. Every God King was an ultimate nascent soul grand cultivator. There was an insurmountable gap between the Freedom Realm and the nascent soul realm. Is it him? Yu Yuan looked at Tian Song, Heavenly Demon Green Nightmare, and Emperor Heaven shaking. Everyone he looked at nodded slightly. Taishur, Shura of Gojoseon, Sabonis, and the great demon god Grek watched as the realm barrier suddenly changed and turned into a bronze coffin lid that covered the entire thousand-bird realm. President Li sat upright and still. His expression was solemn, neither sad nor happy. The first foreign delegate, Junchen, saw that the realm barrier was filled with billions of inscriptions that looked like living creatures. He then looked at President Li and had some guesses in his heart. He relaxed. Chen Qinghuang, who was in the lair of death, shrunk into his normal form. He was still wearing the dragon robe and the emperor's crown. He was no longer the Dharma form with 3 heads and 6 arms. She seemed to know that since that person had already taken action, she didn't need to do anything else. The spreading darkness and other hidden forces would be dispersed. Yu Yuan looked at Tian Song and said, "Is he the one who wants to borrow the sword? Who else?" Tian Song snorted and glared at Chen Qinghuang. "If he comes to hold the sword, Shura of Gojoseon, Grek, and even the Chaos Koan will definitely die. Now that the sword hasn't returned, only one of Shura of Gojoseon and Grek will die. Ah, it's a pity. One of them will die." Yu Yuan was shocked. For example, Sabonis, Grek, and other peak-level powerful beings of the non-human kind were on par with the nascent divinity and demon gods in the human world. It was unlikely that any of them would die in hundreds or thousands of years. Now, judging from Tian Song's expression and behavior, one of them must die. The person who broke free from the restraints of the Forbidden Land, broke through the world of Howran, and was recognized by the 5 supreme forces as the greatest evil in Howran, had become so powerful in the outer galaxy? Divine King Taishur, Beirut, Zhongli de Pan, Lulu, and other experts exclaimed as they searched around. They didn't find anything unusual. Yu Yuan and all the intelligent creatures in this world were also looking around, wanting to know where the legendary divine king was. Until the land of Thousand Bird Realm, which was covered in wounds due to the fierce battle, was suddenly like a huge green-black sponge, absorbing the absolute cold and darkness that had spread to 5/6 of the territory in just a few breaths of time. The cracked land, broken mountains, and collapsed palaces reappeared in the light. Crack, 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 crack. The ground was still torn and shattered, and more and deeper pits suddenly appeared. The sound of the ground shaking and rumbling made everyone tremble in fear, not knowing what would happen. And Yu Yuan, under the rubble, suddenly saw a greenish-black color. He laughed silently because of this. That's right, since the bronze monument had already appeared, how could the coffin that was originally one be too far away? Under the shattered ground, what was gradually revealed was a giant bronze coffin hidden deep inside Thousand Birds' realm. He had seen this giant bronze coffin in the Forbidden Land before, and he had also seen it rise into the sky and rush into the depths of the galaxy with his own eyes. Now that he saw it again, the giant bronze coffin had secretly occupied the underground world of Thousand Birds' realm, becoming the foundation of Thousand Birds' realm. All of their activities were on the giant bronze coffin. They fought, schemed against each other, and schemed against each other. However, when the truth was gradually revealed, when everyone realized that the situation had been under that person's control from beginning to end, some people were pleasantly surprised, while others were terrified and uneasy. Taisher's giant bronze coffin. He has always been in Thousand Birds' realm, but all traces of his existence were covered by that mysterious coffin. The entire Thousand Birds' realm is a coffin that has been magnified countless times. We have always been moving inside, all under his watch, all under his control. Shura of Gojoseon, Grek, and those mutated monsters and corpses are simply a joke. After accepting the invitation of the Tongtian Trading Company, the foreign clansmen who were still alive from various galaxies were excited and glad, but also secretly resentful. They all felt that they had become Taisher's chess pieces, bait on the hook, used to fish for Shura of Gojoseon and Grek. This kind of grievance of being kept in the dark, being treated as a puppet, and being toyed with like an idiot, made them want to find Taisher and denounce him. However, they didn't have the guts and courage. Pooh! 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 Thousands of streaks of blood light struck the brand-new boundary wall covered in inscriptions, but not a single one could successfully escape. The blood light condensed and reformed into the great demonic god Gret. He stared at the Thousand Birds' realm beneath his feet, and a giant bronze coffin slowly appeared from the ground. The heavy expression in his dark red eyes gradually became heavier. Chapter 1106. The gigantic bronze coffin tore apart the ground of Thousand Bird Realm and appeared in everyone's sight. The coffin was spread out on the cracked ground of the Thousand Bird Realm, occupying most of the area. At the bottom of the coffin, absolute darkness surged, but it was sealed by a layer of dark cyan power and couldn't come out at all. A tall and straight human man floated out of the bronze coffin. He didn't show any divine manifestations. Compared to the gigantic coffin, he was extremely small. However, the sky-shattering aura he exuded attracted everyone's attention. The man's long dark cyan hair casually draped over his shoulders. His upper body was completely naked, and his skin seemed to be engraved with countless mysterious symbols. Those symbols were exactly the same as the tiny words on the stone tablet and the giant coffin. They seemed to be branded with mysterious power. Waves of rumbling sounds came from his body. He seemed to be the embodiment of Thousand Bird Realm's great Tao, the condensation of laws, the only God. Dazzling light, rainbows, and the images of fairies, divine birds, cheilants, dragons, and snakes surrounded him from time to time and then suddenly disappeared. His handsome face gave off an ancient aura similar to Zhu An's, but purer. His eyes were as clear and clean as a mountain stream that no one had ever discovered. There wasn't a single ripple in them. After he appeared, he smiled softly at Yu Yuan, who was standing in the soul-refining pool beside the fortress of destruction. An incomparably familiar voice rang out from the depths of Yu Yuan's soul. "Since you don't want to wake up, I'll do as you wish." As soon as the voice sounded, Yu Yuan found that the soul-refining pool he was standing in suddenly became empty and illusory. When he looked again, he found that the strange pool had fallen under the man's feet. All of the sword marks on the walls of the soul-refining pool disappeared without a trace and were replaced by dense and complicated devilish patterns. Nie Qingtian was supposed to carve the sword Dao incantations he mastered into the soul-refining pool to keep me in check on behalf of the three great sections. The man's voice was calm and pleasant, like a spring breeze. He used to be the guardian of the forbidden land of fallen moons, and the creator of the sword prison in the outer realms of the Star River realm. However, in the end, I managed to convince him to embark on a brand new path that ran counter to the path of the five supreme forces. And he died because of it. The man standing on the soul-refining pool slowly flew up into the sky in an extremely calm manner. Yu Yuan's heart trembled. Suddenly, he remembered some secret rumors about moons severing realm cultivators. According to many rumors, Nie Qingtian's soul, in order to avoid unpredictable consequences, the three great sects and the three great sexes' soul, they borrowed the strength of the three great sections. Nie Qingtian used to be the guardian of the forbidden land of fallen moons. He had once severed the moon and sent a large number of meteors into the forbidden land to repair the spell formation. In the forbidden land, the man who the five great sects called the most evil in the world was the owner of the huge bronze coffin and the owner of the soul-refining pool. It was Taisher, the god king. Nie Qingtian had left many sword marks on the soul-refining pool to suppress its wonders and trap Taisher. However, who would have thought that, countless years later, Taisher, who was lying in the huge bronze coffin, would be able to subtly influence Nie Qingtian and make him, the sharpest sword of the three great sects, change his mind and walk on a different path, which led to his own death. His sword incantations are carved on the walls of the soul-refining pool. Of course I can understand them. Taisher smiled gently. I wanted to see what kind of wondrous power I would be able to wield the heaven-reaching sword. Unfortunately, Chen Qinghuang stood in the lair of death, and felt a bone-chilling coldness from the bottom of her heart. For the first time in history, the expression of the first female emperor under the bead curtain became unnatural. It was because she knew very well that God King Taisher, who was stepping on the soul-refining pool and gradually floating out of the huge bronze coffin, was almost omnipotent in the thousand-bird realm that had been sealed by his divine power. Chen Qinghuang felt a chill in her heart because she knew that Taisher could kill her, and she couldn't even escape. Shura of Gojoseon Sabonis. When she took back the lair of death, she had the ability to break through the realm barrier frozen by the dark realm's cold energy. Even if it didn't work, she could abandon the lair of death, and use the connection with the lair of destruction to teleport away. But now, when she saw that the great demonic god Grek couldn't break through the brand new realm barrier that was filled with tiny words, she understood that it was impossible for her to escape from the thousand-bird realm without Taisher's permission. Although there are regrets, I don't plan to investigate further. After all, you were invited to the thousand-bird realm and worked together with Yu Yuan to successfully repair the lair of death. For Shura of Gojoseon and the great demonic god to be able to come, your help and contribution is not small. Just treat it as a merit to offset the fault. Taisher stepped on the soul-refining pool and finally reached the same height as Shura of Gojoseon and the great demonic god Grek. He and President Li looked at each other. President Li nodded lightly, indicating that he was in charge of everything. His attitude was the attitude of the Chamber of Commerce. Those who have no business here, please leave. Taisher pointed at the lair of death where Qin Qinghuang was, and then at the lair of destruction. His voice rang in the hearts of many people. Canli of the bright light race hesitated for a moment and then said to the warriors beside her, "Let's go." Beirut and Leo of the star race didn't hesitate and flew up. The foreign races who were lucky enough to survive were all guided by Taisher. They helped the wounded, packed up their equipment, and flew into the sky one by one. Their target was the lair of destruction. "Got it." Qin Qinghuang muttered softly and cast a spell. The lair of death, that was originally rooted in the pit, suddenly responded and flew up. It didn't take long before it surrounded the lair of destruction. It was like the original lair of destruction that surrounded the lair of destruction. Shura of Gojoseon, Sabonis, and Grek looked at the scene in front of them and said nothing. When the foreign races, many human grand cultivators, and the great demons of the Hauran entered the lair of destruction, one after another, Sabonis said, "What you want is only me and Grek. Can you let my people go?" Taisher smiled. "Yes, but you'll have to wait a moment." Sabonis fell silent again. Yu Yuan, who had also entered the lair of destruction because of the departure of the soul-dissolving pool, looked at more and more familiar people around him with a dazed expression. Whoosh! Qin Qinghuang appeared out of thin air again and stood side by side with him. She said indifferently, "In the following divine battle, I'm afraid the thousand-bird realm will no longer exist. Either the divine king will die or Sabonis and Grek will die. Those who can stay to participate in the battle or even just watch the battle must be at the level of President Li, Junchen, Lu, and Zhongli De. As for the others, once they are affected by the divine battle, they will either die or be injured." Her other hidden voice sounded in Yu Yuan's heart. "The people of the various races are implicated and have no obligation to fight. Taisher, you didn't blame me. You want to use my lair and fortress to send everyone out of the thousand-bird realm at once. As for the Chaos Kuan outside the realm, I guess it won't pose a threat anymore and we'll leave quietly." She had seen through too many secrets and confidently stated her own deductions. Yu Yuan nodded slightly. At this time, the real master of the soul-dissolving pool, one of the 5 divine kings of the ancient Shenhun sect, Taisher, looked at him again. "Let's go first." Genesis Supreme cleanly said these 2 words. However, the look in his eyes gave Yu Yuan a very familiar feeling, as if she had known him for thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years. Qin Qinghuang, who was next to him, lifted the bead curtain for the first time, and a pair of mysterious eyes fell on him. Tian Tsang, He Sun, Emperor Han Tian, and Green Nightmare no longer stubbornly guarded him. They bowed slightly to him and left one after another. Whoosh! Gendo Blood Prison found its master and returned to the scabbard on his back. Chapter 1107. Outside the Thousand-Bird Realm. On an inconspicuous square continent in the Annihilation star system, a grayish-brown mountain that was 10,000 feet tall suddenly cracked open. Rocks rumbled as the continent started to crumble without any warning, as if it was about to explode. As for the 1,000-foot-tall mountain peak, due to the peeling of rocks, a giant stone statue was revealed. There were 2 sides to the stone statue. One side was benevolent, friendly, and gentle. On the other side, it was filled with a ruthlessness that could destroy the heavens and earth. This evil divinity statue, which had gone missing after falling into the spatial tunnel with the soul-transforming lake, was now as tall as a mountain peak. Furthermore, it seemed to be inhabited by living beings, which exuded a vast aura of flesh power that could crush heaven and earth. Boom! Boom! The evil god statue stepped into the cold and dark galaxy as the continent shattered. It was like an ancient god that had passed through time and space. After a few flashes, the vast distance between galaxies was shortened by hundreds of millions of kilometers. The cold energy of the Annihilation star system on one of the 7 frigid abyss entrances turned into cold mist that continued to gather in this world and enter the depths of the sea. Lin Zhuyun had once used an ice soul freezing crystal to reach the depths of the sea. An unusual movement created a giant tsunami that instantly cracked the thin layer of ice on the surface of the sea. Whoosh! Not long after, a huge beam of light broke out from the deep sea and crashed into the starry sea in the outer realms. A figure could be vaguely seen inside the pillar of light. It was surrounded by endless divine light and carried a power that made even gods tremble. In the wondrous land like the Stardust Sea, strange scenes appeared in the eyes of the Chaos Koan in the form of a withered old man, one crimson and the other white. The Een Corpse King on the side looked at the giant evil stone statue that appeared in his eyes and the vast pillar of divine light. His expression changed again and again. "Master." When the Een Corpse King spoke, he found that his tongue seemed to be trembling. The Chaos Koan didn't respond immediately. Instead, he used his power and talent to sense. After a while, the strange scene in his eyes disappeared. He took a deep breath and sighed. The Shenhun sect is so generous. "There are 2 more?" the Een Corpse King asked tentatively. The Chaos Koan nodded. After hesitating for a moment, he muttered something toward the 1,000-bird realm. The Een Corpse King couldn't hear his muttering clearly. However, in the inner world of the 1,000-bird realm, people like President Li, Zhou Yu, and Jun Chen all heard the negotiation between him and Taisher. "Taisher, I really admire the methods and arrangements of the Shenhun sect. Fortunately, I know you too well. I didn't want to enter the 1,000-bird realm, so I wasn't tricked by you. Now, you also know that if I want to leave, no one can stop me, right? Leave that girl to me? I'll leave the Annihilation star system. Furthermore, I promise that I won't scheme against anyone else. Everyone, let's just pretend we didn't meet." The Chaos Koan spoke to the owner of the bronze coffin in a negotiating tone. "Okay." Taisher's pleasant voice sounded in the sea of stars. A ball of green-black light turned into a demonic flower. It wrapped around Lin Zhuyun, who was lying on the ground and no one cared about her, and directly broke through the boundary wall of the 1,000-bird realm. Whoosh! A green-black light flashed in the sea of stars outside, crossing layers of space. Not long after, the green-black light wrapped around Lin Zhuyun and sent her to the island where the Chaos Koan was and landed at his feet. Lin Zhuyun, who had already passed out, was covered in tiny cold crystals that filled her fleshly body. The skinny Chaos Koan lowered his head and looked at her. He placed her on the reclining chair, and then grinned at the 1,000-bird realm. He cupped his hands and said, thank you. I won't disturb you anymore. Let's meet again another day." As soon as his voice fell, this huge meteorite silently left. Not long after, whoosh! The death layer wrapped around the fortress of destruction also broke through the boundary wall of the 1,000-bird realm with many creatures and appeared in the sea of stars. At this moment, the Chaos Koan and Yu Yuan, who was in the fortress, sensed something at almost the same time. Yu Yuan changed his direction and looked at the other galaxy that was separated by the entire 1,000-bird realm. He actually couldn't see anything, but the dragon beheading platform in his hand seemed to have shortened the distance between them, allowing him to sense the primal Chaos Koan's gaze on him. Yu Yuan smiled awkwardly and shook her head with a strange expression. "What are you laughing at?" Chen Qinghuang's face under the bead curtain was covered again. "The Chaos Koan won't dare to do anything to you in the Annihilation Starfield. No, I'm laughing because his attention to me is not the same as before. When I was in the 1,000-bird realm and the Annihilation Starfield, I always felt that someone was secretly spying on me from time to time." Yu Yuan thought for a moment and explained, "I always thought it was this star beast. Now I know that it might not be him, but Taisher." Taisher has been watching me and observing my actions since the moment I set foot in the domain of annihilation, Yu Yuan said in a dreamy voice. Many thoughts emerged in the depths of his heart. The enormous illusory soul that had taken root in his true soul wanted to wake up. Taisher's words, Tian Tsang and the others' attitudes, Yui's sincerity, and the dragon beheading platform felt more and more compatible with him. Whoosh! 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 An incomparably large divine statue suddenly appeared in the depths of the cold, dark, starry river. All of the outsider experts in the fortress, including Qian Tong, Qi Yunhong, and Wendulike, exclaimed when they saw the divine statue. After all, many of them had seen this divine statue in the forbidden land of the fallen moons. Yu Yuan himself was startled. It's him! After entering the starry river, the evil deity statue, which had grown many times larger, flew from the direction of the fortress. It seemed to be heading straight for the Thousand Birds realm. When others looked at the divine statue, it didn't slow down at all. It continued to soar through the starry river. However, when Yu Yuan noticed it, it seemed to have also noticed Yu Yuan, who was mixed in with the crowd in the fortress. The evil deity statue actually stopped for a moment. His ferocious, terrifying, evil side instantly reversed, turning into the side of benevolence and friendliness. This time, the evil deity statue had two arms. It smiled and waved its arms gently in the direction of the fortress, as if it were greeting an old friend from afar. In the next moment, the two-faced evil deity statue flew back to the Thousand Birds realm. Experts of various races, including Hu Kaiyun, Ghost King Qianjie, and Luo Yu, who were gathered in the fortress, all looked at Yu Yuan with puzzled expressions. That's the other divine king of the Shenhun sect. Beirut of the Star Race hesitated for a long time before uttering these words. Divine King! The second divine king! Why does Taisher and the evil deity statue value Yu Yuan so much? Great surprise and suspicion appeared in the hearts of everyone in the fortress. They all wondered why Yu Yuan had been able to gain the unreserved trust of the Shenhun sect from the beginning to the end. People like Beirut, Mia, and Hu Kaiyun thought that Taisher didn't do anything to Qin Qinghuang. Allowing Qin Qinghuang to lead everyone out of the Thousand Birds realm was also giving Yu Yuan face. But why did Yu Yuan have more face than the heavens? Just because he was Hanch of the Medicine God sect in his previous life and was a divine-level alchemist? When the Shenhun sect shook the heavens and made the 100 races in the universe tremble, there was no Medicine God sect, right? Even a divine king like Taisher wouldn't be able to know Hanch of the new era. Everyone was puzzled. What does the Shenhun sect rely on you for? Madame Peach Blossom couldn't hold it in any longer. She stared at Yu Yuan from left to right, as if she wanted to see through his glabella and enter the small world in his sea of consciousness to find the hidden truth. Chapter 1108. Yu Yuan didn't give Hu Kaiyun any response. Lady Peach felt bored after seeing that Qin Lai had no intention of answering. She rubbed her nose and tried to find something to talk about with the Thousand Calamity Ghost King next to her. Most people in the Extermination Fortress were still immersed in shock and grief. They were shocked because of Taisher's appearance, the Shenhun sect and the Merchant Guild scheme, and the evil stone statue that hid another god king. As for grief, many foreign races had died in Thousand Bird Realm, killed by the Dark Realm Azura, many mutated monsters and corpses. Bei Ning, the girl of the Void Spirit race, was probably dead in the thick darkness because of Faith's death. Her chances of survival were slim. Sansom, the leader of the Banshee race, couldn't enter the fortress. She was killed by 2 Platinum Azura of the Dark Realm. Kennard, Kelt, and the other Dark Spirit race nobles, including the leader of the Silver Scale race who asked Yu Yuan for pills, and their own clansmen had all died in Thousand Bird Realm. Pattinson of the Shadow race was able to survive because of the Shadow race's bloodline ability, which was good at escaping and hiding. At this time, he stood next to Elena and looked at the Azura race girl showing her weak side. He wanted to persuade her, but found that he couldn't open his mouth. Elena's father was still trapped in Thousand Bird Realm. Because of his identity as an Azura, and because he was a betrayer, his situation in Thousand Bird Realm wasn't good. Pattinson also thought that the other Azura clansmen might be able to survive, but Fernan was more likely. Time passed, and the extermination fortress gradually moved away. Thousand Bird Realm slowly disappeared from everyone's sight. On this day, Yu Yuan's body trembled slightly. He held the dragon-slaying platform in his hand and injected his soul consciousness into it. He saw that the giant dragons in different small worlds, regardless of whether they were the space-time dragon or the frost dragon, or the weaker dragon corpses, all of them seemed to have been affected by a mysterious power. He focused and sensed. Not long after, he seemed to hear a strong and powerful heartbeat. This heartbeat came from Thousand Bird Realm. What happened? Chen Qinghuang had been paying attention to him the whole time. Seeing that Meng Qi's expression was strange, and that he was holding the dragon-slaying platform, Chen Qinghuang couldn't help but ask, "Did you sense anything unusual?" A huge heartbeat came from the Thousand Birds realm. Yu Yuan chose his words carefully. This heartbeat doesn't sound like it belongs to a human, a great demon, or an expert of any race that I'm familiar with. You know that the life altar in my body has refined the refined blood of many different races. If it's one of them, I should have sensed it. Heartbeat huge. Princess Qing Luan repeated his words. She thought for a moment and asked, "What other signs are there?" "The dragon corpse inside the dragon beheading platform seems to be affected," Yu Yuan said. Chen Qinghuang took a deep breath and stopped asking. Yu Yuan looked at her in surprise. He had a feeling that she knew something. Just like that, the destroyer fortress flew further and further away from Thousand Bird Realm. Even a god king couldn't reach it in a breath. One day, Chen Qinghuang, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly said, "Everyone, you can leave now." She was driving them away. Beirut, the sage of the Star Clan, stood up from his seat. He glanced at Liu and said, "We should go back." Liu nodded and bowed to Chen Qinghuang and Yu Yuan with the etiquette of the Howran world. "Thank you for your help." Without saying anything else, he, Beirut, and a few other Star Race clansmen flew away from the destroyer fortress. Baker of the Curtis family wasn't among them. Yu Yuan watched them leave in silence. Thinking that so many familiar people had died because of the turmoil in Thousand Bird Realm, he felt complicated. "If you have time, come visit the Star Race. We will always welcome you." Nine-star sage Beirut's voice echoed in Yu Yuan's mind. He turned his head and saw Beirut turn around and smile at him. "We only welcome you. The Star Race will need time to get to know the other people and great demons." Blinking, Beirut and Leo waved their starlight and flew away with their clansmen. "We should go too." Canley of the Light Race, who had the life altar, lifted her skirt and bowed to Yu Yuan. However, she didn't say anything to Chen Qinghuang and flew away from the fortress with the remaining elites of her race. "Yu Yuan, I'll take Wenlu with me. Kennard died in Thousand Bird Realm. I've collected his robes and the artifacts of the Dark Spirit race." Elder Mia of the Dark Spirit race looked at him apologetically and said, "Wenlu's return is now free. I'll think of a way to solve the other problems." Luo Yu looked a bit reluctant. Actually, she can still learn a lot of refining methods. Yu Yuan frowned. "What do you think?" He looked at Wenlu. I want to go to some of the Dark Spirit race's realms first. I have a feeling that I'll need to go to those realms to advance my bloodline." Wenlu looked embarrassed and bowed her head. "Master, I want to find you later. You're an important figure of the Shenhun sect and an honored guest of the Chamber of Commerce. It shouldn't be hard to find you." Yu Yuan thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. "All right." Therefore, Wenlu, Mia, and a few lucky survivors of the Dark Spirit clan left the fortress together. Many outsiders who had survived didn't know Yu Yuan well. After Chen Qinghuang drove them away, they fled into the Starry River. We're at the edge of the domain of annihilation now. What about you? Princess Qing Luan's gaze fell on Qi Yunhong and the elders of the Thunder Imitation sect. I don't know you, so I won't be escorting you. Haha, you're a straightforward person. The old woman from the Thunder Imitation sect, who had taken a liking to Qi Yunhong, grinned and grabbed him. He didn't even have a chance to say goodbye to Yu Yuan before they disappeared into the Starry River. Surprisingly, none of these people had died. They were all alive and well. In fact, none of them were seriously injured. It was very surprising. You and you. Chen Qinghuang pointed at Pattinson and Elena. Us? Pattinson pointed at himself and then looked at Yu Yuan for help. Elena also looked at him. They're not suitable to stay with us. Chen Qinghuang's voice was cold. I'm doing this for your sake. You have to know that your identities are very sensitive. I suggest you go to your bandit's secret base and hide for a while. You can figure out the situation in the outside world before you make a decision. Elena wanted to say something, but Pattinson reacted and nodded. Thank you for the reminder. He forcefully pulled Elena away, ignoring the Azura clan's young lady's words. He dragged her into the Milky Way and left together with the other members of the other races. She's an Azura, Chen Qinghuang said indifferently. You won't be affected if she stays with you for too long. She'll be in a lot of trouble. Yu Yuan didn't say anything. He just watched Elena leave from the edge of the destructive fortress. He could see that the girl, who had a temper as hot as her body, kept looking back at him. Scenes of the two of them getting to know each other suddenly appeared in his mind and were deeply engraved. In front of a lake in the depths of the Howran abandoned lands, the Python Queen Su Zishi came quietly and stood at the edge of the lake. She said softly, "The Goblin Temple has sent a message to you. The Goblin Temple hopes that you can go to the Goblin Temple through the teleportation portal immediately. Lord Golden Elephant will lead a demon army with you. We will conquer the outer realms and help you advance to the 9th level in outer space." Got it. Yutu's indifferent voice came from the island at the center of the lake. Whoosh. Yutu, who was petite, instantly appeared in front of Su Zishi. The vast demonic energy she exuded was as shocking as a tsunami, making Su Zishi pale in comparison. Looking at Yutu, who was still thin but not as dark as before, Su Zishi felt as if a lifetime had passed. Before she knew it, Yutu's bloodline had reached the peak of rank 8. She was only one step away from rank 9 and becoming an incredibly powerful great demon with noble status in the Goblin Temple. When Yutu's bloodline reached rank 9, she would probably be able to fight nascent divinities and Yao gods in the abandoned lands. If any other Freedom Realm cultivator dared to enter the abandoned lands and cause trouble, they probably wouldn't be able to withstand her wrath. The Yu family? Yutu's eyes flashed with green light. Su Zishi said softly, "Don't worry. The Yu family has moved back to Dark Moon City. The Silver Moon Empire, the Blue Luan Empire, and the Heaven-Shaking Empire are no longer under our control. Our superiors have also ordered that we are not allowed to interfere in these 3 empires for the time being." Yutu nodded slightly upon hearing this. Su Zishi smiled bitterly and said, "The situation in Howran is no longer completely decided by the 5 supreme forces. Many things are quietly changing. Our battles against them are no longer taking place in Howran, but gradually moving to the Starry River outside of Howran. This time, aside from you, the Devil's Palace, and the Goblin Temple, the 3 great sects will also send many experts to the Starry River." A thought occurred to Yutu as she asked curiously, "What's going on with the Tongtian Trading Company?" "They've retreated from the abandoned lands and built a branch in the Jade Peak mountain range." Su Zishi looked somewhat embarrassed. "They seem to have built a new branch in Illwind Valley, where you used to train yourself. Why is that?" Yutu asked, puzzled. Su Zishi sighed and said, We just received a piece of shocking news. The reason why President Li and Zhou Yu, the #1 foreign elder, insisted on operating under the name of the Tongtian Trading Company in the Starry River without changing their banner was because President Li believed that the current sectmaster of Howren was waiting for him to come back to life. Facts also proved that his judgment was right. The current leader of the Chamber of Commerce is a disciple he taught personally. This disciple is also a woman who is infatuated with President Li. Back then, President Li failed to break through to the nascent divinity realm. She just followed the general trend and replaced him in the ideal way of the 5 supreme forces to seize power. At this point, Su Zixi paused for a moment. For example, Yan Gui of the Silver Moon Empire treated the Silver Moon Queen the same way. He just took advantage of the situation because he knew that he couldn't fight against the Devil's Palace. But in the end, after Yan Gui learned that Liu Chan was still alive, didn't he still throw himself into the arms of the Shenhun sect? Su Zixi sighed. Yu Tu was silent for a moment, then asked, "So, the Tongtian Trading Company in Howren has all joined the other side because of the current sectmaster's orders?" "Yes." Su Zixi nodded. "Understood. I'll go to the Goblin Temple and meet up with them before going to the Starry River." In the Ill Wind Valley in the Jade Peak mountain range, magnificent jade palaces rose from the ground and landed among the mountain peaks and valleys in picturesque disorder. The Ill Wind Valley bordered the forbidden land of the fallen moons. Gazing into the distance from the tall buildings, one could vaguely see evil spirits roaming about in the depths of the forbidden land, like guards that intimidated the visitors who came and went. Feng Zhong, who had a goatee, was smoking a pipe and talking to Zhu Peining, who had just entered the Yang God stage. Jiang Yurong, Gao Qin, and a few other members of the Chamber of Commerce were listening to him from the top of the tall building. Who would have thought? Feng Zhong took a deep drag of his pipe and savored the aftertaste with an intoxicated expression. Our sect master actually announced that the Howren Tongtian Trading Company and the Foreign Realms are one entity after the war in the forbidden land of the fallen moons. Core members of the Chamber of Commerce like Zhu Peining and Jiang Yurong also sighed with mixed feelings. As soon as the sect master gave the order, the branches of the Scarlet Sun Empire, the Hui Glory Empire, and the Divine Might Empire in the desolate Forgotten Land, along with many other branches that were close to the 5 great sects that were relatively sensitive to the situation, moved to their new locations. The Chamber of Commerce didn't try to hide anything, but instead made their stance clear with their actions. Furthermore, President Li had recently shown up in the Tongtian Trading Company's headquarters on the Tranquil Continent. He had worked with the sect master of the Howren to get rid of some of the members of the Chamber of Commerce who had long since been bribed and had sided with the 5 great sections. The Chamber of Commerce was one entity in the Starry River and the Howren. Life is so unpredictable. Chapter 1109. A few months later. The Fortress of Destruction had left the Annihilation Star Zone with many experts from Howren. They had appeared in a new star zone called QU. There were many foreign heavenly demon clans in the QU star zone, and they had spread their branches in different worlds. Yu Yuan sat on the edge of the fortress. He had recovered all the energy he had used in the battle in the Thousand-Bird Realm. Sometimes, he pulled out the blood prison of Gendo to comprehend the subtleties of this Gendo. Sometimes, he sent some of his attention to the sword mark on his arm bone to continue comprehending the mysteries of the 9 slashes that raised the sky. The refinement of his Een spirit seemed to have reached a bottleneck. It would be difficult for him to make a breakthrough in a short time. Unknowingly, he had reached the peak of the Soul Wander realm. Since he cultivated the Great Een Soul technique, he didn't seem to take the conventional path. He didn't have the different feeling of an early or middle stage Soul Wander realm cultivator. When his Een soul could wander in outer regions of the galaxy, he understood that he should focus on the transformation of his heavenly soul. In other words, he could find the way to shape his own spirit. In the past few months, he occasionally discussed the subtleties of refining his body with Yuing, Tan Yuan, and Shin Feiqing. He talked about the secret arts of the soul with Chuling Ghost King, Qian Jie, and Luo Yu. He also asked An Ziqing about the strange spells of blood. He learned a lot. Chen Qinghuang didn't show up for a while. He lived in the pavilion built by the winged race. On this day, Princess Qing Luan, who hadn't shown up for a long time, stepped out of a towering stone palace. The experts in the Fortress of Destruction subconsciously looked at her. "We're almost there." Her beautiful face under the bead curtain still didn't show. She coldly pointed at a land that was gradually appearing in the distance. "There is a Star River ferry built by the Shenhun sect and the Chamber of Commerce over there. When I left the Thousand Bird Realm, Taisher asked me to bring you here." Following her guidance, everyone squinted and looked carefully. Sure enough, they saw a piece of land appear. It wasn't a regular sphere. The land was square and surrounded by a circular realm wall. "There is a Star River ferry. You can go from there to other realms. The people from the Shenhun sect and the Chamber of Commerce will make the arrangements. Everything is up to you." With these words, she suddenly turned to look at Yu Yuan. Yu Yuan looked back at her in confusion. "Come with me. I'll take you to a place." Princess Qing Luan spoke again, her tone obviously gentler. "Your yang spirit casting is different from others." Yu Yuan, who had been worrying about what to do next, readily agreed and said with a smile, "Okay. I'll only bring you with me. The others will still have to go to the Stellar River Ferry." After saying this, Chen Qinghuang turned around and returned to the stone hall, ignoring the others. The others gradually got used to her temper and didn't mind it. "Teacher. Yu Yuan. Young Master Yu. Luo Yu, Hu Kaiyun, Old Copper Qian, and the others all shouted when they saw this. "You guys go to the Star River Ferry. I'll go with her to find the path of Yang spirit creation." Yu Yuan also understood that it was time to part. He took out the Soul Wood spiritual puppet from the universe ring and looked at Yu Ying and Luo Yu. "I don't think I need this thing. Which one of you will bring it to White Bone?" Although he knew that White Bone was the ancestor of the Yu family and the evil King Yuzhen, he was still used to calling him White Bone. "I'll do it." Luo Yu took the Soul Wood spiritual puppet and said reluctantly, "Teacher, I will go back to the Land of Fear." Although Tiantsang is also a ghost king, he shouldn't be considered a spirit of the Land of Fear. I don't think he will return in a short time. The two ghost kings, Chuling and Qianjie, nodded. Tiantsang was different from them. He could be considered Taisher's follower. Since he had stepped out of the Land of Fear and soared into the outer realms of the Starry River, unless he was seriously injured and needed to recover through the Netherworld's Nether River. Otherwise, this unconventional ghost king wouldn't return to the Land of Fear. "You left the Heavenly Dipper shield for the Yu family. You should take it back." Taking off the dark green iron ring from his hand, Yu Yuan handed it to Yu Ying and said, "This is a purely defensive heaven-grade item. It has saved my life a few times and I've finally refined it. Unfortunately, I've always felt that it doesn't quite fit my aura. I know you have the ability to refine it again. Use it yourself, or leave it for the talented children of the Yu family." Yu Ying was stunned. "You know I don't lack suitable artifacts now," Yu Yuan said with a smile. "All right then." Yu Ying took the iron ring. Considering that he was the medicine god of the medicine god sect, the Shenhun sect that dominated the outer realms of the Starry River, and President Li thought highly of him, he shouldn't lack powerful artifacts to protect himself. Didn't he just obtain the blood prison of Zhendo not long ago? After that, Yu Yuan and Qian Lao chatted for a while. He secretly told Qian Lao that if he returned to Hauran, he should help him take care of Qin Yun. The old sect master of the 7 divine sects hadn't reached the Yang spirit realm yet. He was still in Hauran. He had a lot of feelings for Qin Yun, so he specially mentioned it. Chuling, Qianjie, Luo Yu, and Tan Yuan also heard Qin Yun's name and secretly took it to heart. A few days later, the Fortress of Destruction finally approached the continent. Before it broke through the realm barrier and entered, a familiar strange laughter suddenly sounded. White Ghost! Yu Yuan couldn't help but laugh as he looked at Earth Demon, who kept changing into a familiar appearance. Earth Demon and White Ghost had set him up many times in the forbidden land of the fallen moons. If it weren't for his vigilance and luck, he probably wouldn't have been able to walk out of the forbidden land of the fallen moons. Now that they met again in the outer realms of the Starry River, their past in the forbidden land of the fallen moons was naturally erased. This was because this Earth Demon, who had once been ranked in the top 10 of the Forbidden Lands, had appeared on this continent. Obviously, Taisher had recruited him and made him a part of the Shunhun sect. Long time no see. This Earth Demon, who had a notorious reputation in the history of Howren, seemed very restrained when he met him again. He didn't even feel comfortable talking to him. Her name is Hu Kaiyun, and people call her Lady Peach. I promised to introduce her to the Shunhun sect. Yu Yuan pointed at Lady Peach, who seemed to be pleasantly surprised, and asked, "Can you make the arrangements, White Ghost?" White Ghost nodded hastily. "Of course. You're the one who recommended her." Yu Yuan was immediately struck by a strange feeling. When this powerful Earth Demon treated him, it was clear that he was his subordinate. He was submissive and did not have the slightest temper. He was even inferior to Heavenly Demon Emperor Han Tian, Heavenly Demon Green Nightmare, and He Sun. This meant that White Ghost's status in the Shunhun sect was very ordinary. Whoosh! Yu Yuan was taken aback by the fact that the enormous destructive fortress gradually left the lair of death and flew towards the continent. The birdmen in the fortress and the fortress itself will rest and recuperate inside. By the time Chen Qinghuang's voice echoed out, she had already left the destructive fortress and entered the center of the lair. She waved at Yu Yuan and said, "You don't have to go in." Yu Yuan flew up and got rid of the fortress below him. He temporarily stayed in the starry sky. "The promise I made to President Li and the Shunhun sect is still valid." Chen Qinghuang looked at White Ghost and said, "When the battle in the Thousand Bird Realm is over, there will be a result. When Taisher and President Li have a new location, I will move the Lair of Death there and connect it to the destructive lair in Howren." Earth Demon White Ghost nodded and said, "I will report it." "Yu Yuan, I will take him to find a way to break through," Chen Qinghuang said again. When it came to Yu Yuan, White Ghost didn't answer. Instead, he landed in the destructive fortress and guided him to communicate with the others in the realm wall. The realm wall was sparkling. Yu Yuan couldn't see the scene inside at a glance. However, the life altar inside his body sensed thick blood auras. There were human cultivators, monster race cultivators, and even more foreign races. However, the outsiders inside were different from the ones he was familiar with. They seemed to be cultivating the spirit arts of the human race. "The outsiders are cultivating our arts?" He rubbed his chin, and his expression became very strange. "There's nothing to be surprised about. The Shunhun sect in outer space has its current strength because it accepted the outsiders. The Shunhun sect's new spirit arts, soul arts, and exquisite body refinement methods have been improved by countless wise people. Many outsiders can cultivate them and become stronger," Princess Qing Luan said indifferently. Chapter 11:10. In another part of the Starry River, Yumu, who was known as the Sword of Heavenly Water, sat cross-legged on top of a lonely mountain peak. His eyes were closed as he spread out his soul awareness and desperately sensed something. At the same time, on the mountain peak, men and women who stood ramrod straight with swords on their backs or holding swords on their backs were all looking at him. They were all dressed in the robes of the sword sect, and each of them had different sword intents flowing within them. The most powerful expert among them was none other than Jining Shuang, the Sword of Star Frost. She had also stepped into the Starry River, and met up with Yu Mu through the Star River ferry controlled by the three high sections. There were many mountains and cliffs on this dead continent without a realm barrier. The cultivators of the Sword sect, the Primal Yang sect, and the Xuantianzong sect were scattered all over. When nothing major happened, they were clearly separated and wouldn't gather. After a long while, Yu Mu opened his eyes in frustration and wiped the sweat off his forehead. "How is it?" The white-robed sword immortal, who was as cold as frost, immediately asked. "Senior Marshal Sister, can't you give me some time to think?" Yu Mu let out a long sigh with a bitter expression. "That Azura general should be dead. The extremely secret imprint I left in his body has also completely disappeared. That mark can't do anything. It can't affect him at all. It can only hear some vague sounds through him. Now that there's no sound coming from him, it means he died in that battle." Yu Mu, who had left a heavenly water net in Fernand's body, had secretly left a strange imprint on it. This imprint allowed him to hear some vague words with his divine abilities and secret magic. It was through Yu Mu that Jining Shuang and the experts of the Sword sect here learned that heaven-shaking, earth-shattering changes had taken place in the thousand-bird realm in the domain of annihilation. He knew that the Shura of Gojoseon Sabonis had regained control of Fernan. He knew that Fernan had been protecting Lin Zhuyun for a while. He also knew that Sabonis and Grek had arrived one after the other. Taisher had also appeared because of this. "I'm asking that person." Jining Shuang frowned and glared at Yu Mu coldly. He followed Princess Qing Luan's death lair and left the Thousand Birds world first. Fernan died not long after. Taisher and President Li must have done it. Yu Mu slowly rose to his feet and looked at the other mountain peaks. After a moment of hesitation, he said, "I think we should inform those two parties of the latest news." "I'll tell you later," Jining Shuang said. Yu Mu nodded, not daring to disobey her. "Senior sister, who do you think will die in the Thousand Birds world?" "Shura of Gojoseon and Grek. At least one of them will die, or both of them will die." The cold great sword immortal mocked mercilessly. Those two boorish men actually dared to go to the Thousand Birds world. The Shenhun sect and President Li have set up a trap. Perhaps they also have the intention of luring us over. Fortunately, we are not as stupid as the two of them. The other cultivators from the Sword sect also had gloating expressions on their faces. From their point of view, Shura of Gojoseon Sabonis and the great demonic god Grek clearly did not know how powerful Taisher and the others were. That was why they rashly barged into the Thousand Birds world. In the end, they fell into the trap prepared by Taisher and President Li. They are indeed boorish men. Those two can clearly do nothing and wait for us to fight with the Shenhun sect and President Li. When the two of us are fighting each other to the death, I will secretly go and do something. Why did they have to jump out and fight with the Shenhun sect before us? They are so stupid, Yu Mu commented with a chuckle. Based on Howren's time, after I leave for 3 days, you can tell the two sides the news you received, Jining Shuang suddenly said. Senior sister, where are you going? Yu Mu was stunned. Find a place to practice my sword. Chi Nether Star Field. The surface of the Lair of Death was as smooth as a mirror. Only Yu Yuan and Princess Qing Luan were sitting on it. Chen Qinghuang told him some things. The Shenhun sect, which had returned from an extremely remote area of the universe, was mixed with a lot of outsiders. They were also spreading the news that they were willing to accept talented people of all races into the sect and teach them exquisite Dharma spells and soul arts. The Shenhun sect in outer space not only had humans and monsters, but also many outsiders. The Shenhun sect proved to everyone that outsiders could also practice the spirit arts and secret arts they had modified. They could strengthen themselves with a new cultivation system and make their bloodlines evolve and break through. The heavenly devils, the star race, the dark spirit race, the banshees and the silver scales easily accepted the new ideas of the Shunhun sect and President Li because they saw something special about them. Qin Qinghuang took off her crown, revealing her beautiful, dreamlike face. The outsiders who have allied with the Shunhun sect have already begun to select their clansmen who are suitable to practice human spirit arts and send them to the Shunhun sect to be taught. No one can predict what the unique bloodlines of the outsiders and the new cultivation system of the Shunhun sect will create. Do you know why the 5 great forces are so panicked? They are very afraid. He was afraid that the secret incantations that only humans could cultivate in this vast heaven and earth would instead create many powerful experts of other races. They are afraid that the Shunhun sect won't be able to control the situation at all. They are afraid that the outsiders will spread out and destroy Howren. The enormous lair of death could only carry her and Yu Yuan as they flew through the dark, cold sea of stars. Princess Qingluan, on the other hand, knew far more secrets than Yu Yuan because she had been loyal to the 5 great forces and had a powerful demon like the Peacock King under her command. There were many things that Yu Yuan couldn't even imagine, but after her explanation and guidance, she suddenly became enlightened. A few more days passed. The lair of death was parked in an unknown dark world in the Dark Chi sector. Then, it slowly sank. Whoosh! The fiendish demon cauldron floated out of his Zigong meridian. Yu Yi and consort Han left the cauldron together. Yu Yuan's eyes were filled with surprise. It's her. Yu Yi pointed at consort Han and said to Yu Yuan, she smelled a familiar scent. She has been here before, so she woke up and asked me to let her out. Consort Han, who looked like a glacier goddess, bowed to Yu Yuan in the air, her eyes flashing with the light of spirituality. Greetings, Master. Our race has many different titles, such as the Heavenly Devil of Extreme Frost, the Ice Devil, the Scorpion-tailed Devil, and so on. Different races and intelligent beings have different titles for us. We call ourselves the Heavenly Devil of Extreme Frost. My sister and I have been to this world before, so I know a thing or two about it. As consort Han spoke, she slowly shrank her body from 100 feet tall to Yu Yi's size. Yu Yuan nodded. Your sister is the one who possessed Lin Zhuyun? Yes, I can feel that she died. Consort Han bowed her head slightly. That human woman killed her and refined her with the help of the Chaos Kuan. Her remaining devilish will is gradually being absorbed, and the aura of her soul origin has changed. 2 more are coming. Qin Qinghuang waved his hand and motioned for Yu Yuan, Yu Yi, and consort Han to leave the crystal-like lair first. As Yu Yuan retreated, he said in surprise, There's someone else? The Peacock King? It's not her. Qin Qinghuang didn't explain. All of a sudden, mysterious ripples spread out in the space at the center of the death lair. Light that surprised Yu Yuan blossomed and became more and more dazzling. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 figures appeared at the center of the lair when the light was at its brightest. Chapter 11:11. A man and a woman appeared side by side in the lair that was as smooth as a mirror. The man had long silver hair and a casual smile on his face. It was Tan Chun Shan. The woman was extremely beautiful. She was the elder of the Moonlight people, Nora, who Yu Yuan had met once in the Thousand Birds world. You didn't expect it, did you? Tan Chun Shan smiled brightly. As soon as he appeared, he waved at Yu Yuan. Nora smiled reservedly. She nodded at Qin Qinghuang and Yu Yuan, but did not say anything. Yu Yuan's expression froze. At this time, he remembered that after he took down Zhendo's blood prison, he had never seen Tan Chun Shan and Nora again. Tan Chun Shan and Nora did not appear during the chaos in the Thousand Birds world. Presumably, Tan Chun Shan and Nora had left the Thousand Birds world long ago. However, these two Why were they able to appear in the lair of death? Yu Yuan frowned and looked at Princess Qingluan, who did not wear the emperor's crown to hide her appearance after Tan Chun Shan and Nora appeared. He asked, "What's going on?" "The two of them moved here from the Star River ferry that we left earlier." Chen Qinghuang's expression was normal as he explained, "After this lair is refined, I can temporarily turn it into a ferry for a moment. Tan Chun Shan and I have known each other for a long time, and we have fought side by side." "Girl, shouldn't you call me Senior Tan?" Tan Chun Shan had a smile on his face that deserved a beating. "You just advanced to the Sun God realm. When you first rushed into the outer realm, I saved you from the hands of the heavenly demons. What? Now that you're powerful and have improved, you want to talk to me as an equal?" Chen Qinghuang looked indifferent and did not answer him. However, Yu Yuan could also tell that the relationship between Tan Chun Shan and her was not ordinary. She recalled that when she was in Qingluan City, it was also Tan Chun Shan who appeared to suppress the great demon, Lu Lu. That was why she could rely on Qingluan City, which was a Dao integration cultivator, to fight against Zuan. Obviously, she and Tan Chun Shan had been secretly communicating with each other and had some kind of tacit understanding. Yu Yuan rubbed his chin and looked at the two of them. From time to time, he would glance at Nora, who was among the Moonlight people, with a playful expression. A celestial devil of extreme cold. Elder Nora of the Moonlight people narrowed her eyes and smiled. She looked at Consort Han, who was standing beside Yui, and asked Chen Qinghuang, "Is she also a participant?" "No. However, she has been here before," Chen Qinghuang responded this time. "This place?" Yu Yuan gradually became interested. As he spoke, his soul consciousness seeped into the ground under his feet like invisible water. This place was dark. There were collapsed mountains and broken canyons. There should have been forests in the past, but there were no lakes and no traces of water sources. There was also no realm wall. The filthy supernatural ability was everywhere. Even the depths of the ground contained a strange energy. His soul consciousness wandered underground and did not find anything unusual. The life altar in his body also did not detect any signs of life. However, his soul consciousness seemed to have consumed a lot of energy underground. After a while, he felt weak. "Is there anything special?" After finding nothing, he helplessly looked at Chen Qinghuang again and asked honestly. "The demon race of the Howran realm. There are currently 4 demon gods, including the Aragami and the Goblin Temple. Demon Phoenix, Qilin, Heavenly Tiger, and Aragami." The one who spoke was Tan Chun Shan. He did not seem to be worried that the 4 rank 10 demon gods would detect his location and hear his word. As a peak Freedom Realm expert and a miraculous figure of the Star Luna sect, Tan Chun Shan spoke of the demon gods without any fear. Before the White Heavenly Tiger, there was another demon god of the Goblin Temple who was of the same race as the Aragami. It was also Yuan. Tan Chun Shan looked at Yu Yuan with a smile. "I know. I heard that it was a rank 10 moon-swallowing ape." Yu Yuan nodded and said, "When he was Haunch, the moon-swallowing ape had died many years ago. It was said that it was surrounded by the heavenly demons and slowly died. Because it was too long ago, he did not pay much attention to it in his previous life, so he did not have a deep impression of it. Yes. It was a moon-swallowing ape from the same era as ancient god Golden Elephant, and was even stronger than ancient god Golden Elephant." Tan Chun Shan's gaze fell on the dark galaxy outside. He was surrounded and killed by the heavenly demons. Under the combined efforts of 3 great demon gods, that rank 10 moon-swallowing ape died in the starry sky. Yu Yuan was stunned for a moment. Then, he suddenly reacted and asked curiously, "Don't tell me it's the current Netherchi star zone?" "That's right." Nora of the Moonlight people nodded slightly. "I know a few things as well." Consort Han looked at Yu Yuan, then at Tan Chun Shan and Princess Qingluan. She seemed to be waiting for something. It seems that you used to have some status in the Arctic heavenly demon race. Nora's eyebrows twitched slightly. She seemed to pay more attention to Consort Han, who had turned into a fiendish devil. One of the 3 great demon gods who killed the moon-swallowing ape was from the Arctic heavenly demon race. She could see that the nature of Consort Han's soul had changed, and there was a strange soul imprint. Consort Han was obviously bound by the imprint and enslaved by the fiendish demon sect's ultimate treasure. After losing her freedom, even though Consort Han used to be a Arctic heavenly demon, Nora did not take her seriously. However, when Nora discovered that Consort Han knew about the inside story of this place, she could not help but think more highly of her. Consort Han hesitated for a moment and nodded slightly. The one you're talking about is my ancestor. Later on, she was killed by the demon phoenix of the Goblin Temple. You could say that she exchanged her life with the moon-swallowing ape. I see, Nora said. Tell me what you know, Yu Yuan said encouragingly. The 3 great demon gods who killed the moon-swallowing ape included the current patriarch of the otherworldly heavenly demons, the previous patriarch of the blood demon race, and my ancestor. Consort Han was very honest and told him everything she knew. The moon-swallowing ape's demon soul was devoured by the strongest of the otherworldly heavenly demons and my ancestor. They strengthened the demon soul. The patriarch of the blood demon race before Grek was given the moon-swallowing ape's demon body. The demon soul and demon body were devoured by the 3 great demon gods who participated in the battle? Yu Yuan looked surprised. Amen. Consort Han nodded. You know a lot. Tan Chun Shan smiled. You've been here before? Why? My ancestor obtained an artifact from the moon-swallowing ape. When the 2 of us passed by this place, it sensed something. Consort Han thought for a moment, then pressed a finger to her forehead and said, We explored this place, but we didn't find anything. That artifact even disappeared. Ha ha! Tan Chun Shan clapped his hands and suddenly laughed. What a coincidence! Haha, is the artifact of the moon-swallowing ape you mentioned a silver fork? Consort Han's expression changed slightly. How did you know? Tan Chun Shan laughed again. All right, don't keep me in suspense. Chen Qinghuang looked slightly impatient. She looked at the land under her feet and slowly left the nest. She hovered a few meters in the air and said, The moon-swallowing ape's demon body is most likely still down there. It's just that Grek sealed it away. If the remains of a rank 10 demon god's bones and blood are all priceless treasures. She raised her head and said to Yu Yuan, The moon-swallowing ape's demon bones contain a terrifying amount of moon essence. Tan Chun Shan and Nora can use it to forge divine weapons that are most suitable for them. Its demonic blood will help your heavenly soul refine that life altar and turn you into a yang divine body. Other than that, there should be other treasures that are suitable for you. After all, this is the secret base of the great demon god Grek. As the current chief of the blood demon race, he must have left many treasures here. Chen Qinghuang said slowly. Yu Yuan's heart surged as he listened. The body of a demon god of the Goblin Temple was on the ground below. Chen Qinghuang, Tan Chun Shan, and Nora wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to plot against it. How long have you been planning this? Chapter 11-12. Thump, thump, thump. A strong heartbeat came from the dragon-slaying platform in Yu Yuan's sleeve, causing him to tremble slightly. His expression became unnatural because of this. A wisp of soul thought entered the world inside the dragon-slaying platform. He could see that the rank 10 space and time dragon and the broken dragon corpse of the frost dragon were trembling slightly. The 2 rank 10 dragon gods had been dead for countless years and were buried in the dragon-slaying platform. Why would the dragon corpses suddenly show abnormalities? Billions of miles away, There seemed to be a gradually awakening power that attracted the dragon corpses in the dragon-slaying platform, causing the corpses without dragon souls to want to leave this world and get closer to the slowly increasing power. This was the second time Yu Yuan sensed that loud heartbeat. He could only vaguely tell that this strange heartbeat came from the Thousand Birds realm. Because he was controlling the dragon-slaying platform, he could sense a thing or two. Other than him, no one else present felt it. His strange behavior made Chen Qinghuang suspicious. The Empress's mysterious and deep eyes looked at him. Chen Qinghuang didn't speak, but his eyes seemed to be able to speak and revealed everything. I sensed a heartbeat on the way here. It came from the Thousand Birds realm. Just now was the second time, Yu Yuan said frankly. Or did it give the dragon corpses in the dragon-slaying platform abnormal power? Chen Qinghuang's mouth curled in surprise. Yu Yuan nodded slowly. Chen Qinghuang's beautiful, illusory face showed that she was pondering. The dragon-slaying platform is just a divine object. I'm afraid it's hard to put it in a cosmos ring. Don't show it to others. You have many opened acupoints in your body. Why don't you leave one of them for the dragon-slaying platform? My suggestion is the Shin K acupoint. Also, she looked at the center of Yu Yuan's chest. The refined Zhendo can be placed in the Tanzhong acupoint. Yu Yuan said in astonishment, "Do we need to do this?" "Yes, of course." Tan Chun Shan nodded repeatedly. Not to mention the dragon beheading platform, even if you were outside the Zhendo blood prison, it would be extremely easy for people to detect you. Since you've already refined them, the two items contain your aura. Just like the evil demon cauldron, you can put them into your opened acupoints. Let's wait for one more person. Let's take a look at the wonders of this world. Nora of the Moonlight People turned into a streak of brilliant moonlight. She didn't continue talking to them and headed towards a cracked canyon in the distance. Grabbing the silver fork, Tan Chun Shan chuckled in a low voice as he casually swung the fork towards the ground. The earth suddenly tore open, and he entered it in a flash. Princess Qing Luan narrowed her eyes and looked at the lair that was suspended in the air and releasing the aura of death. Under her gaze, the gigantic death lair suddenly shrank slowly. In just a dozen or so breaths, the lair shrank to the size of a fingernail and disappeared into the hidden acupoint between her middle and lower dantian with a whoosh. This lair is too obvious a target. It's very easy for people to notice it if it's placed outside, she explained. Whoosh. A little black and purple cat flew out of the evil demon cauldron and obediently rubbed against Yu Yi's feet. Yu Li! Yu Yuan exclaimed softly when he saw the little cat. He was secretly surprised. Yu Li was once one of the strongest 12 fiend demons that the Thunder Slaughter sect had obtained in exchange for Qi Yunhong's freedom. Even though it had been severely injured and its realm had dropped, it still couldn't be underestimated. Also, this fiend demon had entered the evil demon cauldron not long ago. After being nurtured by the fiend demons below it, it had climbed from the 8th step to the 9th step. It was second only to Consort Han at the 10th step. How long had it taken Consort Han to ascend to the 9th step? It had only been half a year since Yu Li had entered the evil demon cauldron, but it had already reached the 9th step and was second only to Consort Han. Yu Li's eyes shone with a ruthless and cruel light. Yu Yuan frowned slightly when he looked at it. Only Yu Yi, who had condensed her body, seemed to be able to stop it completely and make it approach her. At this moment, Yu Yi crouched down and hugged Yu Li. She gently stroked its soft fur and whispered a few words to it. Then, she released it and said, "Go." Yu Li immediately turned into a bolt of black lightning and shot into the depths of the earth, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Crack! Crack! Not long after, the earth beneath their feet exploded. It was unknown whether it was Tan Chun Shan's destruction or Yu Li's rampage. Yu Yi and Consort Han stood side by side. She glanced at Chen Qinghuang and said to Yu Yuan, "This involves the body of a demon god, and it's also the place where the great demon god Grek sealed." Master should be as careful as possible. Don't be careless and get schemed against. You'll work for others and still have to pay them. Yu Yuan couldn't help but laugh. Chen Qinghuang was expressionless, as if he didn't care about Yui's hostility at all. He said indifferently, "Try to put the dragon beheading platform and Gendo's blood prison into the opened acupoints." After saying this, she disappeared from the spot. Not a trace of her aura or soul thought was left behind. Master, she and Tan Chun Shan had planned this a long time ago. They have been hiding it and didn't say anything in advance. We have to be careful. Yui curled her lips, lowered her head and said, "In Thousand Bird Realm, if she hadn't suddenly attacked and destroyed the passage connected to the Dark Realm, the Divine Sword would have returned. If Lord Taisher had the Divine Sword, he would have calmed that disaster long ago. Master, you are a member of the Shinhun sect. You have always been. Her actions have actually harmed the interests of the Shinhun sect. However, she still has value, and she seems to have a relationship with you, Master. That's why Lord Taisher didn't pursue the matter. However, we still have to be careful. She might have other ideas." Yui chose her words carefully and took care of Yu Yuan's emotions. She said Chen Qinghuang's bad points. She had recovered most of her memories. She already knew that she was the Dragon Slayer's maidservant and a member of the Shinhun sect. She naturally thought about the interests of the Shinhun sect. She didn't like Chen Qinghuang, who had destroyed Taisher and President Li's plan and caused the heaven-piercing sword to fail to return safely. "Okay, I'll pay attention." Yu Yuan's expression didn't change. He secretly observed the Cauldron Soul. He vaguely felt that the Cauldron Soul, which had been very cautious and changed its attitude towards him before, seemed to have adjusted itself and slowly become the Yui he was familiar with. She was no longer the one who had knelt down and didn't even dare to breathe loudly in the Fortress of Destruction. He was more comfortable with the current Yui, and he was more used to it. Then, he ignored what Chen Qinghuang, Tan Chun Shan, and Nora were setting up or investigating. Under the protection of Yui and Consort Han, he tried to place Gendo's blood prison and the dragon-slaying platform into different acupoints. After trying, he realized that it wasn't difficult at all. The Shunkei acupoint at his navel had been opened by the essence of Yin sunflower and rich qi and blood. Because it was very close to the Huangting lesser world in his lower dantian, it was still surrounded by a thin layer of mist-like spiritual energy. Whoosh! As soon as the long, grayish-white dragon-slaying platform reached this lesser world, it suddenly connected to the profound gate in his middle dantian and the Huangting lesser world, causing a lot of spiritual energy and pure qi and blood that contained the power of creation to flow into it. Yu Yuan was shocked. He hurriedly focused his mind, afraid that something unexpected would happen. After watching for a while, he realized that the spirit energy and qi and blood in his lower and middle dantian were only gently wrapping around the dragon-slaying platform, allowing his power and aura to seep into the dragon-slaying platform in this way. It was as if this was a magical method to nurture an artifact and find a deeper compatibility. Gendo's blood prison was placed in the Tanzhong acupoint even more naturally. The moment the saber entered, it formed a subtle connection with the lesser world in his blood. The crimson life altar spun quietly, as if it was intimidating the many blood souls in Gendo. Yu Yuan had a feeling that if he threw Gendo into the life altar, the 7 blood souls in Gendo, including all the bloody sparks, would be completely devoured by the altar if he wanted to refine it. The altar, which had been forged from the primal chaos coin's behemoth essence amber, was intrinsically superior to the demon blade. After years of strengthening and refining the blood essences of the experts of various races, as well as the hearts and bones of the great beasts, this strange altar had become even more wondrous. It was not something that the blood souls inside the fiendish saber could resist. After the dragon-slaying platform and Gendo sank into different acupoints, Yu Yuan pondered for a while. On this day, a cold moon suddenly appeared. Yu Yuan narrowed his eyes and looked closely. A cold smile gradually appeared at the corner of his mouth. Chapter 11:13. That cold moon was the condensation of pure moon energy. A slender, beautiful figure could be vaguely seen inside of it. In the gloomy and cold galaxy, the cold moon was rapidly approaching, allowing Yu Yuan, who was narrowing her eyes to observe carefully, to quickly recognize the newcomer. It was Empress Li Yupan of the Silver Moon Empire, and the ancient Moon Devil, Consort Yu. When they parted last time, Li Yupan told him the whereabouts of the sky-raising sword. She also said that he could go to the Dark Realm to retrieve the sword when his realm and combat power were strong enough. But not long ago, he learned a truth in Thousand Bird Realm. No matter what realm or power he had, if he entered the Dark Realm with a sword soul, Shura of Gojoseon and Sabonis would be able to sense it immediately. In the Dark Realm, even the God Kings might not be a match for Sabonis, much less him. He couldn't help but suspect that the Silver Moon Queen had ill intentions for revealing the whereabouts of the sky-raising sword. Whoosh! The cold moon suddenly turned into a ray of moonlight and fell into the world where he was. He realized that the person Tan Chun Shan and Nora were waiting for was the Silver Moon Queen. Yu Yuan? Why are you here? Li Yupan, with a slender figure and a cold temperament, was riding a crescent moon. When she landed, the crescent moon slowly transformed into Imperial Concubine Moon of the ancient Moon Demon clan. Consort Yu's body originally belonged to the bandit King Calf. She was also a rank 9 bloodline member of the Moonlight people. After possessing this body, Imperial Concubine Moon changed her appearance, turning into a woman. Heh! Consort Han, who had been hiding behind Yui, quietly walked out and looked at Li Yupan, who had the bloodline of the Moonlight people, and Consort Yu, who had possessed Calf. A strange light appeared in her icy eyes. Finally, she regained her memories. Consort Yu snorted. You! The Silver Moon Queen, Li Yupan, looked at Consort Yu, who had possessed her for many years. Then, she looked at Consort Han, who had a curvy upper body and a scorpion lower body. She asked in surprise, "You know each other?" Yu Yuan was also surprised. Consort Han was an extreme cold heavenly devil. Back then, at the bottom of the starry Ash Sea region, she was absorbed and refined by the fiendish demon Cauldron. Her soul form changed and she became a fiendish demon. After many enhancements and advancements, she slowly became the strongest fiendish demon and regained all her memories. Consort Yu, on the other hand, was an ancient moon devil. She was also a branch of the heavenly devils. When Ye Qingtian severed the moon, a fragment of the moon fell into the forbidden land of Fallen Moon and was sealed away. They were both heavenly devils from other realms, and they were both women trapped in Howren. We know each other, but we didn't have much of a relationship in the past. We were even rivals. Consort Yu, an ancient moon devil, sighed quietly and felt a little emotional. Our Moon Devil clan was almost wiped out by Nye Qingtian. There aren't many of us left, and we have to rely on the Moonlight people to survive. The extreme cold heavenly devils aren't much stronger than us. After their ancestors died, the extreme cold heavenly devils' strength plummeted, and they are no longer ranked among the heavenly devils. As she spoke, Consort Yu looked at Consort Han. Consort Han frowned slightly and didn't say a word. She was clearly in low spirit. What a coincidence! Yu Yuan nodded with a smile. Then, he saw Tan Chun Shan and Nora emerge from the ground. They seemed to know that Li Yupan and Consort Yu had arrived. How many people have you asked to share the moon-devouring ape's body? Yu Yuan asked. Forget Princess Qing Luan, Tan Chun Shan and Nora could refine and absorb moon energy. Li Yupan and Consort Yu also had the same power and secret art. 4 of them had appeared here. Would the remaining moon energy of a dead demon god be enough for the 4 of them? Yu Yuan expressed his doubts. Kid, don't worry so much. Tan Chun Shan flew to the Silver Moon Queen's side and withdrew his smile. He nodded at her and said, Do you have any clues about the breakthrough to the Freedom Realm? Not for now. Li Yupan sighed softly. However, the bloodline evolution of the Moonlight people is unusually fast. Consort Yu, who was wearing a long dress with complicated patterns, narrowed her eyes. Her eyes were like crescent moons and filled with evil. If all goes well, she will be able to use the moon-devouring ape's body to raise her bloodline to rank 9. When that happens, her unique bloodline may be able to help her advance the human race's spirit energy system and find a way to enter the Freedom Realm. When she said this, Tan Chun Shan and Nora looked at Li Yupan in surprise. A strange feeling arose in Yu Yuan's heart. Tan Chun Shan was loyal to the most mysterious sect master of the Moon Sect. He also had the bloodline of the Moonlight people, and he had successfully ascended to godhood with the help of the Shunhun sect and the Chamber of Commerce. Nora and many Moonlight people had already accepted that person. Li Yupan also had the bloodline of the Moonlight people, and she had been possessed by the Moon Demon for many years. She had entered the Sun God realm with the power and laws of the human race. In the vast universe, her bloodline was no longer suppressed. After it was exposed, she advanced rapidly. Could it be that she wanted to completely assimilate into the Moonlight people? Because that person of the Moon sect had ascended to godhood, the status of the Moonlight people in the universe had increased significantly. With the help of the Shunhun sect, the Moonlight people should be able to become a first-tier intelligent race like the Light race, Azura race, and Star race in the near future. With that person around, a mixed blood like Li Yupan would naturally be accepted. A series of thoughts flashed through Yu Yuan's mind. He felt that he was gradually sorting out the situation. When you can raise the bloodline of the Moonlight people to rank 9, I will take you to see her. Tan Chun Shan looked deeply at Li Yupan, and then said to Consort Yu, Most of the remaining members of the Moon Demon race are in the Moonlight people's territory. If everything goes well, I will take you with me to meet more moon demons. Consort Yu's eyes were filled with complicated emotions. She said self-deprecatingly, There is an ancient saying in Howren, when a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs rise to the heavens. The entire Moonlight people have undergone a tremendous change because of a mixed-blood girl born in Howren. The Moonlight people are only the first to try. There may be more in the future. Tan Chun Shan chuckled strangely. It is easier for a human to get pregnant if they marry the Moonlight people. It is slightly more difficult for other races to marry the human race, and the chances are much smaller, Nora said coldly. As they chatted, Princess Qing Luan did not appear. No one knew where she had gone. Another half a day passed. The ground beneath everyone's feet suddenly shook. It was as if a hidden formation had been activated, causing a terrifying change to occur in the underground world. Whoosh! The fiendish demon that Yue had released flew out of a crack in the ground in the form of a cat. It instantly fell into Yue's arms. Its eyes shone with excitement as it spoke to Yue. Princess Qing Luan is destroying the seal. Yue hugged the cat and explained to Yu Yuan. Tan Junshin's expression grew serious as he said, Yu Yuan, you can wait outside for now. You don't need to interfere with the outer layer of the seal. We'll need to work together to crack the moon armor. During the shattering process, it will depend on our own methods and fortunes. We can absorb as much moon armor as we can. Nora, Li Yupan, and Consort Yu all appeared excited when they heard this. Moon armor? Yu Yuan asked curiously. The demonic energy that seeps out of the moon-devouring ape's body is refined with the purest moon energy to form a strange, solid object similar to armor. Tan Chun Shan explained, This object is extremely sturdy. Only people like us who are proficient in the wonders of moonlight and can refine and absorb it can shatter and swallow it. If we rely on brute force or divine weapons alone, we will be discovered by the many elders of the blood demon race before we can enter the seal. They will rush over together. The Kyanother star domain is the heavenly demons' territory. Although Grek is reckless, many young heavenly demons still admire him. No one wants to be surrounded and beaten up by the heavenly demons before they even see anything. Nora and Liupan also became cautious after hearing this. The heavenly demons were the strongest force in the universe other than the humans and demons of Hauran. The heavenly demons had been the overlords of the universe for a long time. Their overall strength still surpassed the Azura race, the Star race, the Radiant race, and the Dark Spirit race. Okay, let's go down first. Yuan, you wait outside, Nora said gently. As they spoke, the 4 experts who could absorb and refine moon energy disappeared into the ground one by one, as if they were cooperating with Chen Qinghuang to destroy the so-called moon armor. Master, be careful, Consort Yu. Chapter 11:14. When Consort Han, whose body was as translucent as white jade, spoke of Consort Yu, her expression was stern and fearful. She then solemnly reminded, Consort Yu was once the Moon Demon clan's seed with the greatest hope of becoming the great demon god. She and the entire Moon Devil clan were almost destroyed because of Niechingtian's invasion. Master, and you are that person's successor, so she will do everything in her power to kill you. Also, Consort Han's cold eyes looked down at the ground beneath her feet. Her gaze seemed to pass through time and space and see the past. The ancient Moon Demon clan's devil soul can split and possess more suitable targets. Tan Chun Shan and Nora are better choices for her. As carriers of the devil soul, these two are far stronger than Kaf. With my understanding of her, once Tan Chun Shan and Nora are heavily injured, she will immediately split her devil soul and possess them. If she succeeds, her strength will instantly increase by a large amount. At this point, Consort Han paused slightly. In the past, the Moonlight people were treated as livestock and reared as puppets by the Moon Demons. The powerful Moon Demons split their devil souls and had several bodies. The death of one body and the devil soul did not harm their foundation. They had many lives. Consort Yu was the most talented member of this clan, and was known for her viciousness. Imperial concubine Han, who hailed from the celestial demons of extreme coldness, seemed to loathe Imperial concubine Moon of the lunar demons. According to her, the ancient Moon demons were considered deviants and heretics among the heavenly devils of the outer realms. They were not liked by the heavenly devils in the traditional sense. Therefore, when Ye Qingtian killed his way into the Moon Demon territory and killed many Moon Demons, many of the nearby heavenly devil experts pretended not to know. Yuan listened in silence for a while, then said, There's actually such a thing. The Moonfiend clan situation among the celestial demons is like the blood god in Hauran, Consort Han continued. Yuan completely understood what she meant by this analogy. Perhaps there are soul auras in the ground below, sealed by the moon armor. Yue gently stroked Spirit Fox's smooth fur and gradually entered the center of the fiendish demon cauldron. She even waved at Consort Han. After Consort Han entered the cauldron, she said, Master, we have to be careful. If Grek has a backup plan or if the blood demon elders are here, we shouldn't risk our lives. Looking in the direction of the realm where the Earth Devil and White Ghoul had been, she said, We need to do our best to go to that heaven and earth with the fairies of stars, and meet up with the people from the Shenhun sect and the Chamber of Commerce. Amen, Yuan nodded. After that, he quietly waited for Chen Qinghuang to lead the others to break the so-called moon armor. Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh. Yue released weak fiendish demons that hadn't yet developed intelligence and went down the cracks in the ground. They turned into her eyes and transmitted the scenes they saw to her and Yuan. Because of this, Yuan saw pieces of mysterious metal that looked like silver appear in the depths of the underground that kept exploding. The snow-white metal pieces also had natural patterns on them. When he looked closely, he saw that the patterns were releasing the light of the moon and cool, pure moon power. He didn't see Qin Qinghuang, but he saw Tan Chun Shan, Nora, Liu Pan, and Consort Yu in different places underground. Nora activated her bloodline magic and pressed her hands on the moon armor, absorbing moon power with her palms. Tan Junshan, on the other hand, summoned numerous palm-sized crescent moons. Using the ingenuity of his spiritual tools and profound spirit incantations, he arranged them into a formation to absorb the moon power from the moon armor. At the same time, he took the opportunity to study the natural patterns on the moon armor to see if they contained any wondrous power. Compared to Nora and Tan Chunshan, Liu Pan, the former Silver Moon Queen, was absorbing the moon armor at an extremely low rate. She didn't seem to be able to find a good way to do it. She couldn't obtain the power she desired from the moon armor, whether it was a spirit art, secret art, or bloodline talent. On the contrary, her own power and the aura of the Moonlight People's bloodline were being pulled into the silver-white rock by the moon armor. Just as Liu Pan was at her wit's end, Consort Yu came to her side and whispered something into her ear. The Silver Moon Queen's eyes gradually turned silver-white. She exuded a dark, cold, and inhuman aura. She no longer used the human race's spirit power system or the bloodline talents of the Moonlight People to absorb moon power from the moon armor. Instead, she seemed to be using a secret art of the ancient moon devil race. Her Yin spirit entered her Yang spirit body. Then, her Yin spirit merged with her Yang spirit body. Then, a translucent, white body separated from her body and moved towards the moon armor. This Yang spirit body quickly absorbed the power contained in the armor of the moon according to the secret technique of the Moon Devil clan. Soon, her harvest surpassed Tan Chun Shan and Nora. Tan Chun Shan, who was controlling the cold moons and using a strange formation to absorb moon power, noticed the Silver Moon Queen's abnormality. He looked at her in surprise and said, "Nora, is she absorbing moon power using a bloodline ability of the Moonlight People?" "No, it's a moon refining art that's almost lost even in the ancient moon devil race." Nora's brow furrowed slightly, and she seemed to be a little envious. The ancient moon devil race's many secret arts are strange and unpredictable. Many of the Moonlight People's moon secrets are inspired by the ancient moon devils. "Don't flatter yourself," Imperial Concubine Moon coldly sneered. "To be more accurate, when we enslaved your moonlit night clansmen, we taught you some tricks to obtain strength from the moon. Slowly, those secret magics will be imprinted in your bloodlines, and you'll treat them as your own." Nora's brow furrowed even deeper when she heard this, but she did not refute. She knew that Consort Yu's status was extremely high in the Moon Devil race. She did not know if what the other said was true or false. "She's speaking the truth." A voice came from Consort Han's mouth inside the fiendish demon cauldron. This fiendish demon, transformed from a heavenly devil of extreme frost, observed the changes below with Yu Yuan and Yui through the vision of the fiendish demons below. She casually explained to Yu Yuan and Yui and told them the truth. The Moonlight People's many innate abilities and secret arts came from the former Moon Devil race. Due to the decline of the Moon Devils, they gradually started to rely on the Moonlight People to survive. The Moonlight People completely took over the Moon Devil race's power, including the Moon Devil's secret arts and knowledge of moon power. Consort Han analyzed with her own understanding. The Moon Devil race naturally ruled over the Moonlight People. If the master of the Moon sect hadn't successfully ascended to godhood, I was worried that a terrifying person like Consort Yu could overthrow the Moonlight People with her own power and make the ancient Moon Devils rule over the Moonlight People again. Yui said, "When a highly intelligent race gives birth to a rank 10 bloodline expert, the bloodline characteristics of the race will change." That mysterious clan master of the Moon sect pushed the secrets of the Moonlight People's bloodline to new heights. Her existence changed the Moonlight People. She is a miracle worker. Yu Yuan clicked his tongue when he heard this. That mixed blood sect master of the Moon sect and Star Moon sect had left a deep impression in his heart even though he hadn't met her before. Even he felt respect for her. A moment later, he suddenly felt that the Gendo that had sunk into his acupoint was acting strangely. With a thought, Gendo flew out of his Tan Zhong acupoint and landed in his palm. As he suppressed Gendo with the life altar, he sent out a wisp of soul thought. He immediately saw an enormous blood soul inside the Gendo. It surged wildly and turned into the blurry shape of an ape. Zhentian Yuan. Yu Yuan was shocked. The person who had entrusted this Gendo was the rank 9 Zhentian Yuan of the Goblin Temple. This giant ape had died from the backlash of blood prison and turned into a blood soul. Why was it acting so strangely now? Chapter 11:15. Zhentian Yuan's blood soul was in the form of a giant ape. It beat its chest and roared as if it had gone mad. Beams of light that looked like blood snakes shot out of the giant ape's blood soul. It looked like it was in a hurry to break free from Gendo's blood prison and attack the underground world below. Yu Yuan, who had completely refined Gendo, could clearly sense that the giant ape's blood soul was acting strangely because of the strange energy waves below the ground. Zhentian Yuan's blood soul was crazily thirsting and showing its instinctive greed. Apes, Yu Yuan stroked her chin as a thoughtful look appeared on her face. In Howran, apes are the closest to humans. Legend has it that the two are related. Yui's face was calm inside the black cauldron. She pulled out the secrets hidden deep in her memory and explained them to Yu Yuan. The Desolate God is also an old Yuan who has lived for a long time. He and the moon-swallowing ape underground used to be very close. Before the moon-swallowing ape died in outer space, the Desolate God and the Goblin Temple had a good relationship. After the level 10 moon-swallowing ape died in outer space, the relationship between the Desolate God and the Goblin Temple took a turn for the worse. The Desolate God used to be the leader of the ape. It was said that the Desolate God was behind the moon-swallowing ape becoming a demonic god. This Zhentian Yuan, who was devoured by Gendo, also went to the lake and met the Desolate God as a descendant of the demonic god. Yui's face was filled with sincere respect when she talked about the Desolate God. In the end, she said, the Desolate God is independent of the Goblin Temple. Among the 4 demonic gods of the demonic god, his strength should be second only to the demonic phoenix. When she mentioned the demonic phoenix, she subconsciously looked up at the sky, as if she was afraid of being noticed. She even shrank into the cauldron and said, even the Qilin and the white heavenly tiger are not as strong as the Desolate God. Zhentian Yuan must have sensed the residual flesh aura of the moon-devouring apes and instinctively rushed down to strengthen itself. Yu Yuan nodded lightly. I think so too. Because of the armor of moon, the life altar inside his body did not react to it. However, Zhentian Yuan and the moon-swallowing ape were both ape. Perhaps their bloodlines resonated with each other. The blood soul formed by Zhentian Yuan was strengthened by Gendo. That was why it reacted so strangely. While communicating with Yu Yi in secret, he continued to use the weak fiendish demon's vision to observe the situation below. Several days later, Tan Chun Shan and the other 3 experts who could refine moon energy used their special arts to extract the essence of moon energy from the silver moon armor and merged it into their own artifacts and bloodlines to increase their strength and realm. They all benefited greatly. The Silver Moon Queen, Liu Pan, used the ancient secret art of the Moon Devil race and obtained the most moon energy. Her yang spirit body became even more translucent after receiving so much moon energy. At first glance, it looked like the ultimate treasure of the Star Moon sect, the Meteor Eyes. Consort Yu, on the other hand, probably restrained herself too much, but the amount of moon energy she obtained was not exaggerated. Yu Yuan observed and concluded that her harvest was not as good as Tan Chun Shan's. It was only slightly better than Nora's. Half a day later, the silver moon armor turned into grayish-brown stones after losing all of its moon energy. Crack, crack. As Tan Chun Shan's artifact moved, the grayish-brown stones cracked like eggshells. Then, gray death energy seeped into the cracks of the stones, as if it was trying to block something. Just like this, 4 to 6 hours later, the Green Phoenix Empress suddenly appearing at the entrance of the largest crack. Come to me. Chen Qinghuang did not wear the crown that could hide his face. He said in a low voice in a dignified tone that could not be refused. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The 4 figures were scattered all over the place, but because of her words, they quickly gathered. Yu Yuan did not hesitate. With a thought, he grabbed Zhendo's blood prison and jumped into the black cauldron, heading straight for Chen Qinghuang. When he arrived, he immediately saw Liu Pan, who was also a female emperor. His eyes lit up as he stared at Chen Qinghuang with an expression of worship and excitement. It was as if he had seen his idol, the person he had admired since he was a child. Chen Qinghuang's expression was indifferent. There was no fluctuation in his deep and mysterious eyes, as if he was used to it. Yu Yuan came over to observe. He felt that Chen Qinghuang, who was also a female emperor, completely suppressed Liu Pan in terms of appearance, aura, grace, and elegance. She was more than a level higher. When the two women stood together, Chen Qinghuang gave Yu Yuan the feeling that she was born with an aura of nobility, not something that was cultivated after she became Princess Qing Luan. Liu Pan was different. She gave Yu Yuan the feeling of inferiority and depression that had been hidden in her youth. Even though she had climbed to the throne of the Silver Moon Empire with the help of the ancient Moon Demon, with the help of her family and consort Yu, and with the cooperation of Yen Gui, she still could not get rid of some of the habits of a young girl. She did not seem confident and natural. As she thought about it, Yu Yuan gradually came to a realization. Although he did not know Chen Qinghuang's background, she seemed to have known that she was incomparably honorable from the moment she was born. She knew that sooner or later she would become the female emperor of the strongest empire. Her heart was incomparably confident, and indeed, she had used her own strength to prove this point. Liu Pan was deliberately created because of the agreement between Consort Yu and the ancestors of the Li family. In order to cooperate with Consort Yu, she was mixed blood. From the beginning, her fate had been arranged by others. When she was a young girl, she was extremely lacking in confidence. She was pushed by others to become the Silver Moon Queen step by step. Although she succeeded, she was still not confident because she knew in her heart that Consort Yu played a more important role. Perhaps it was because of this that she was very envious and admired Chen Qinghuang, who was also a female emperor and had walked further than her. This point, when compared to Chen Qinghuang's indifference, the excitement she showed when she saw Chen Qinghuang was revealed. Let's go. Chen Qinghuang took a step towards the huge crack and instantly disappeared from everyone's sight. After her, Tan Chun Shan and Nora did not hesitate and flashed into the crack. Consort Yu was not in a hurry to act. When the Silver Moon Queen was about to go in, she tugged at the corner of Liu Pan's clothes to stop her. Then, without a word, she turned to look at Yu Yuan. What are you afraid of? Yu Yuan laughed involuntarily. Consort Yu did not answer. She just looked at him and waited for him to go in first. Yu Yuan stilled and felt a little relieved. Consort Yu's cautiousness showed that she and Liu Pan were very wary of Chen Qinghuang, Tan Chun Shan, Nora, and the others. This kind of precaution meant that they were not like what he thought. They had long huddled together and trusted each other. Fine, I'll go first. Yu Yuan controlled the fiendish demon cauldron and followed the crack that Chen Qinghuang, Tan Chun Shan, and Nora had entered. It was as if they had passed through a long passage of death and suddenly entered a strange little world. The moment he entered, He took a deep breath and exclaimed, "Oh!" A gigantic ape hundreds of thousands of meters long lying flat in the void immediately appeared in his field of vision. The gigantic ape was covered in silver-gray fur that looked like long snakes. Extremely obvious flesh and blood energy flowed out of its fur. The gigantic ape's eyes were open, and they shone like two bright, cold moons. Because of the light in its eyes, the entire strange underground world was illuminated by the light in its eyes. The gigantic ape's body was abnormally shriveled. There was a purple-gold egg in its chest where its heart should be. The area around the gigantic ape's chest had actually been cut open. The exposed parts of the gigantic heart looked like old tree bark. Only the part that was covered by the gigantic egg still gave off a domineering aura. The death energy that Chen Qinghuang had poured into this little world ahead of time was to prevent the remaining flesh and blood energy inside the gigantic ape's corpse from being detected by outsiders. Even if a demon god's demon soul was no longer present, there would still be earth-shattering power inside its body. Whoosh! The Zhendo in Yu Yuan's hand drove him straight to the heart under the gigantic egg. At this time, his life altar immediately started spinning rapidly as if it was responding to the Zhendo. It wanted to take the opportunity to grab as many sweet fruits as possible in this strange little world. Chapter 11:16. Yu Yuan could feel that Zhendo, which was called Blood Prison, was filled with a strong desire for the giant ape's heart. Not only did Jintian Yuan's blood soul, but all the blood souls in the blood-colored world inside Zhendo, including the countless blood-colored sparks, were responding to Jintian Yuan's blood soul. They all yearned to enter the heart and devour and refine it. Zhendo didn't have a soul. It only had 7 blood souls. When they arrived in this small world and smelled the residual flesh power in the moon-devouring ape's heart and body, they all went crazy. Even the life altar in Yu Yuan's flesh aura world, which had been created by the power of heaven and earth, started to shake. Zhendo and the life altar in his body worked together to temporarily disperse his consciousness, so he didn't have time to think. As if following his instincts, he merged with Zhendo and turned into a streak of dazzling demonic light that shot straight for the giant ape's heart. "Don't! Calm down." Chen Qinghuang and Tan Chun Shan of the Star Luna sect, who had come in first, saw what Qin Lai was doing and stopped him in unison. Unfortunately, Yu Yuan couldn't hear them. Thump! A heartbeat suddenly came from the moon-devouring ape's heart, which was covered by the giant purple and gold egg. Boom! Rumble! All of a sudden, the entire underground world began to shake violently, as if numerous gods were beating drums that could shatter the void. A sound wave that was aimed only at Yu Yuan surged out of the ground. The dazzling demonic light that Yu Yuan and Zhendo had formed was instantly shattered, and he and Zhendo were separated. His arm, which was holding Zhendo, became a bloody mess. His body, which had been tempered thousands of times and was as hard as divine metal, was bombarded like porcelain. Many fine cracks suddenly appeared on it. Without the protection of the Big Dipper shield, Yu Yuan, who was caught off guard, was directly injured. Within the large black cauldron suspended in the air, Yu Yi looked at Yu Yuan, who had lost control and was covered in wounds from the impact of a heartbeat. She hurriedly drove the large cauldron over to rescue him. She didn't expect Yu Yuan to leave. By the time she realized that something was wrong, Yu Yuan was already injured. Whoosh! The cauldron caught Yu Yuan, who was falling from the sky and sinking towards the giant ape in time. The moment Yu Yuan fell into the cauldron, Yu Yi let out a sigh of relief. She knew that those injuries only affected his flesh and bones. They didn't affect his internal organs or his soul. As long as the soul is not destroyed, even if the flesh and blood explodes, there is nothing to be afraid of. She thought with relief. At this time, Zhendo's blood prison was still flying towards the moon-devouring ape's heart after Yu Yuan left his hand. Just as Zhendo was about to pass through the strange purple gold egg and fly to the heart under the eggshell, Tan Chun Shan suddenly acted. Many curved crescent moons turned into a ceiling formation. The formation just happened to restrict Zhendo's blood prison, causing Zhendo to stop in midair and unable to move. At the same time, Li Yupan and consort Yu came in one after another. The two of them were mentally prepared, but when they saw the moon-devouring ape's enormous body, they were shocked and exclaimed in unison. Then, they saw the heavily injured Yu Yuan recuperating inside the fiendish demon cauldron. The moon-devouring ape still has a heartbeat. Yu Yuan's expression was grave as he looked at the shriveled brown heart and the purple gold egg above it. Then, he sensed that his injuries were recovering due to the operation of the life altar. Something's not right. A dead moon-devouring ape's heart shouldn't have retained such terrifying power after so many years. Even if this moon-devouring ape had once been a level 10 demon god, its heart should have gradually withered and died after its demon soul was devoured and refined by the heavenly demon until it no longer had any power. Unless it had been preserved in a special container, supplemented with all sorts of rare spirit materials and divine medicines, not long after it died. Only in this way could the vast blood energy inside the demon god's heart exist for a long time. However, the heartbeat just now was able to unleash such astonishing power without the support of a demon soul. It just didn't make sense. Yu Yuan believed that only a living moon-devouring ape could inflict such a heavy injury on him with the beating of its heart and the impact of its monstrous demonic energy. Take a closer look. The moon-devouring ape's heart is actually disconnected from its chest. Tan Chun Shan raised his hand and pulled. The array of crescent moons carried Zhendo and flew toward Yu Yuan. When the moon-devouring ape was killed, its chest was penetrated and its heart was dug out. Right now, the heart is completely floating in the hole in its chest. It's connected to the chest wall by streaks of crimson light like veins. As soon as he said this, Nora, the Silver Moon Queen, and consort Yu all looked over curiously. Yu Yuan also focused and observed carefully. Soon, he knew that Tan Chun Shan's judgment was correct. The moon-devouring ape's chest had indeed been penetrated and its heart dug out. Right now, the heart was indeed still in the moon-devouring ape's chest, but it was connected to the surrounding chest wall by streaks of crimson light. That heart doesn't belong to the moon-devouring ape, Chen Qinghuang suddenly said. There are a few drops of Grek's demonic blood in the innermost part of the heart. What you see now is a resurrection ritual that Grek left behind. It's something that he specially prepared for himself. A resurrection ritual? Li Yupan was shocked. Tan Chun Shan's expression changed slightly as he said in shock. Are you saying that the great demonic god Grek can come back to life by absorbing the remaining blood of the moon-devouring ape? This was originally a backup plan that he prepared for himself. In the past, he probably never thought that it would come in handy. Chen Qinghuang stepped in the air and cautiously approached the moon-devouring ape's heart. After she finished speaking, everyone present was shocked by her words. What is certain is that something must have happened to Grek in the thousand-bird realm of the Annihilation Star Domain. With the three god kings working together, President Li Junchen, and other experts working together, Grek may have died in the thousand-bird realm. Because something happened to him, his essence blood crystal left here spontaneously started to absorb the remaining flesh and blood energy of the moon-devouring ape. As they approached, Chen Qinghuang analyzed. Legend has it that any great demonic god of the blood demon race can be reborn with a drop of essence blood as long as they reach level 10 bloodline. As long as a drop of essence blood can gather a vast amount of flesh and blood energy, it can refine bones, meridians, flesh and organs and transform them into a new self. However, after being reborn, they will be weak for a while. They will need time to slowly recover their lost memories and replenish their strength before they can return to their peak. Grek is already on the path of resurrection in this wondrous world. At this point, she stopped. She floated in front of the giant purple-gold egg and looked at the cracked eggshell. She looked at the dazzling light flowing out of the cracks and sensed an aura that was completely different from Grek's and the moon-devouring ape. This giant egg. Many tiny lights suddenly burst out of Chen Qinghuang's deep and mysterious eyes, but they were so bright that no one dared to look directly at them. Those lights were ancient, as if they were memories that had been sealed for tens of thousands of years. They were the secret inheritance of the immortal bird, and they were activated by her power at this moment. She sank into silence and began to analyze and comprehend the secrets within the light. Everyone, including Yu Yuan, restrained themselves and didn't even dare to speak loudly for fear that they would disturb her and make her unable to understand. Whoosh! The demonic saber was sent back to the fiendish demon cauldron by Tan Junshin's crescent moon array. Yu Yuan held the saber in her hand again. She could still feel the blood soul formed by the heavens shaking Yuan restlessly. Moreover, it wasn't under his control. To be safe, he sank Gendo back into his acupoints and summoned the dragon-slaying platform. He grabbed the grayish-white stone platform with one hand and his expression suddenly changed. The dragon corpses inside the dragon-slaying platform were also shaking. He silently sensed for a while, and his expression became strange. What caused the dragon corpses inside the dragon-slaying platform to be abnormal was not the moon-devouring ape or the heart with Grek's demon blood. It was the giant purple-gold egg that covered the heart. The other one is the dragon egg of the Titanspinosaurus. Chen Qinghuang took a deep breath and seemed to understand something. She pointed at the giant purple-gold egg and looked at Yu Yuan, saying, "Earlier, the heartbeat you sensed through the dragon-slaying platform came from the Thousand Birds realm. If my guess is correct, there is another dragon egg of the Titanspinosaurus in the Thousand Birds realm." Titanspinosaurus? Dragon egg? Tan Chun Shan's expression changed abruptly. Now, Imperial concubine Yu of the ancient Moon Demon clan, and even Yu Yi, when they learned of this secret, all of them felt as if they had been struck by a heavy blow. Chapter 11:17. Titanspinosaurus was one of the first star behemoths to be born when the chaos was first created. When the Chaos Koan had been outside the Thousand Birds realm, it had described this star behemoth as supreme. It had said that Titanspinosaurus was the oldest and most powerful star behemoth. It was a level higher than the immortal bird, the void spirit, and the deep-sea giant winged lizard. The giant spirit race, which lived in the Annihilation star system, worshipped Titanspinosaurus. The giant spirit race was also believed to have been created by Titanspinosaurus. They regarded themselves as the guardians of Titanspinosaurus. The giant spirit race used to be the strongest race in the first tier of the universe. Legend had it that Titanspinosaurus had died differently from other star behemoths. It hadn't been killed by the peak experts of today's races. Instead, it had been killed by its own race in an earlier era. Many star behemoths like the immortal bird, the deep-sea giant winged lizard, and the void spirit had joined forces to kill it. No one knew why the other star behemoths had joined forces to kill Titanspinosaurus. They only knew that before it had died, it had been the strongest of the star behemoths and the ruler of their race. Titanspinosaurus had died in the end, but its corpse had always been a mystery. None of the experts and star behemoths in the universe had guessed the truth. Now, 2 Titanspinosaurus dragon eggs had suddenly appeared. One was in the Thousand Birds realm, and the other was in this small world. Yu Yuan stared at the enormous purple-gold dragon egg. He could vaguely see brilliant light flowing through its cracks. It was filled with a mysterious power that seemed to be compatible with the mysteries of the Great Tao. There seemed to be beams of bright lightning that flew around like the bloodline crystal chains of outsiders, hiding all kinds of talents and divine abilities. The life altar in his body was spinning madly because of the Titanspinosaurus dragon egg. In a very short time, his body, which had been injured by the beating of the heart, had almost healed. He didn't feel too uncomfortable. It's a Titanspinosaurus dragon egg, but it's clearly broken. Behind Yu Yuan, Yui held the kitten named Yuli. She poked her head out to observe the purple-gold dragon egg and said, "Master, if that dragon egg really belongs to Titanspinosaurus, don't be in a hurry to approach it." Yu Yuan, who had suffered a loss before, nodded gently. Thump! Another thump that sounded like an explosion. As Chen Qinghuang approached the huge, golden-purple egg and its heart, she suddenly morphed into a magical Dharma idol that was 3,000 meters tall, like an ancient god. He Li. Of the Dharma idol of destruction, and of the three laws of destruction, death, and rebirth. Of the god of heavens, Yu of the of Qin, Yus of Yu dragon. Of the of gods. One side was grayish-white, one side was dark, and one side was translucent. The moment they were formed, they exploded with a loud bang. Chen Qinghuang's towering Dharma idol flew a large distance into the sky, distancing itself from the heart. Then, he looked down at the moon-devouring ape's body with the face that controlled destruction. He looked at the strange heart that was mostly dried up under the giant purple-gold egg. The body belongs to the moon-devouring ape, and the giant egg belongs to Titanspinosaurus. The moon-devouring ape's demonic energy is inside the heart because it absorbed the demonic god's remaining blood. However, the heart itself has nothing to do with the moon-devouring ape or Titanspinosaurus. It doesn't belong to Grek either. Chen Qinghuang only spoke with the face that controlled destruction, which was ferocious and violent. Before we find the method, don't try to get close to that heart again. Tan Chun Shan sat on a crescent moon and motioned for Nora and Li Yupan to stay away. He narrowed his eyes at Yu Yuan and said, "Little girl, Chen just said that you sensed another strong heartbeat? And it came from the thousand-bird realm?" Yu Yuan, who was holding the dragon-slaying platform, nodded slightly. When his soul entered the small world inside the dragon-slaying platform, he could feel that the dragon corpses of the Frost Dragon and the Space-Time Dragon, as well as the many giant dragons that had been killed inside, were attracted by the dragon egg of Titanspinosaurus. They wanted to break free from the dragon-slaying platform and rush to the dragon egg. However, the reason why the dragon-slaying platform was a divine artifact and why the Void Spirit Elder Fei Shui coveted it was because the corpses of the dragon gods inside had long merged with the entire heaven-splitting divine stone. That was why it had become the dragon-slaying platform. At the moment, he was only at the level 10 demon god corpse of the moon-swallowing ape, and it was still missing its demon soul. The complete dragon-slaying platform contained the golden dragon, the space-time dragon, and the frost dragon. The corpses and blood of the three dragon gods, and even the dragon souls that remained after their souls were destroyed, were all poured into the dragon-slaying platform, making it an earth-shattering divine artifact of the Shenhun sect. The dragon-slaying platform, in the hands of the dragon slayer back then, was invincible in the world. Whether it was in Howren or in the outer realms, the person who controlled the dragon-slaying platform was so powerful that it could be said that his killing power was unprecedented. Since the dragon-slaying platform was a divine artifact that had been completely refined by that person, the dragon corpses were a part of the dragon-slaying platform. Wanting to break free from the dragon-slaying platform and obtain freedom was simply a pipe dream. Therefore, no matter how the dragon corpses shook inside, they were like grasshoppers that had been nailed by steel nails. I'm guessing that the dragons of Howren were born because of Titanspinosaurus. Chen Qinghuang, who was in midair, could no longer feel the threat of the heart. After not hearing any new heartbeats, she transformed back into her previous beautiful form. She no longer had 3 heads and 6 arms, and was no longer so mysterious and strange. However, her words shocked everyone present. The dragons were born because of Titanspinosaurus? Tan Chun Shan was shocked. You haven't been to the Annihilation Star Zone and the Kingdoms of the Titans, so you haven't seen Titanspinosaurus and Howran dragons. In fact, the difference isn't obvious. Compared to the dragons of Howran, Titanspinosaurus was just larger in size and had an extra pair of broad wings. Chen Qinghuang slowly descended and stopped in midair near the fiendish demon cauldron where Yu Yuan was. Because of her words, a memory spark in Yu Yuan's mind suddenly exploded, revealing a string of secret memories. Yes, Titanspinosaurus entered Howran before it was about to die. Like this moon-devouring ape, it died in the underground world of Howran. The so-called dragon veins were formed by the dragon chi it released and merged with the veins in the underground world. The dragon beheading platform, which was originally intact, used to be the origin of the dragon veins on the mountain peak in the forbidden land of fallen moons, where it was buried. Titanspinosaurus died in Howran. Many years later, its blood essence merged with the native spirits and became a dragon. As a supreme star behemoth, it carried its own mysterious fortune. The place where it died was still able to gather a large amount of power from the starry river and transform it into the purest spiritual chi after being purified by the realm barrier. Because of this, the spiritual chi in Howran became the purest and most abundant spiritual chi in the starry river. After all, when Titanspinosaurus ran amok in the starry river, it devoured countless high-grade stars and lands. The terrifying power contained in those stars and lands nourished Howran after its death, creating the glory of Howran and allowing the dragons in Howran to give birth to many 10th-grade dragon gods. Yu Yuan revealed the secret information that the memory spark in his mind had transmitted to him in a dreamy voice. He believed that the memory spark had come from the dragon beheading platform and the Dragon Slayer's legacy. The Dragon Slayer was the main culprit in the vast expanse world who had directly overthrown the descendants of the Titanic Spinosaurus, the Dragon Clan, and knocked them off their pedestal. Of course, he knew the secrets of the world. The dragons were actually born because of Titanspinosaurus. My God! After Titanspinosaurus died, the dragons were born. For thousands of years, it had devoured realms and refined the power it had accumulated in its body, creating this so-called central realm of Howran. Tan Chun Shan, Nora, and consort you all had very interesting expressions on their faces. Apparently, the secret that Yu Yuan and Chen Qinghuang had revealed was so earth-shattering that they would never have dreamed that Titanspinosaurus was the reason why Howran was so powerful and had such a terrifying foundation. There's no way that such a splendid world would appear in this heaven and earth for no reason. Chen Qinghuang nodded slightly, proving that what Yu Yuan had said was exactly the same as what she had guessed. It's also because of the power of Titanspinosaurus that the dragons in Howran were able to give birth to a few dragon gods not long after their birth. Thump! Another heartbeat came from the moon-devouring ape's chest. Then, numerous crimson blood strings turned into numerous dense rays of divine light that shot towards everyone present. Mysterious blood energy also gathered inside the giant purple-gold egg, as if it was creating something. Chapter 11-18. Yu Yuan's expression suddenly grew serious. The crimson blood strings that were flying towards them caused the life altar inside of him to tremble, as if it wanted to fly out of his body uncontrollably. He narrowed his eyes slightly as he probed the blood strings with his soul and aura. The crimson blood strings seemed to have been magnified dozens of times in an instant. They were filled with countless tiny blood lights and blood crystals, as if they were branded with the wonders of all living beings' bloodlines. He sensed the auras of the radiant race, powerful demons of the human world, Asuras, and many other races. Every crimson blood string seemed to contain the auras of hundreds of living beings' flesh and blood. The great demon god, who had been born with a strange life altar, was the only one who could do this in this vast starry river. Yu Yuan's expression flickered. Based on his understanding of Grek and his experience in the forbidden land of the fallen moon, he knew very well how terrifying Grek was. Those slender blood threads that did not seem to have much power suddenly became deadly blades in his eyes. It's Grek's aura. Chen Qinghuang's expression flickered as well. Her eyes turned a grayish-white color, as if they were filled with death intent that couldn't be dispersed. Whoosh! She took the initiative to meet the crimson blood strings that were flying towards her. Her hands formed the seal of death, and a layer of strange ripples of light spread out in front of her, drowning the blood strings that were flying towards her. Fizz! Fizz! The mysteries contained within the grayish-white ripples of light were washed away by her law of death. Soon, the will of death crushed the blood light that had been refined to the extreme, and the essence of blood in the bloodline was completely destroyed. Don't use the blood prison, and put away the dragon-slaying platform. Chen Qinghuang's soft voice suddenly rang out at this moment. Clearly, she was warning Yu Yuan. Yu Yuan, who was holding the dragon-slaying platform and about to summon Gendo's blood prison, calmed down upon hearing her words. Yu Yuan immediately changed his mind. Not only did he not summon Gendo, but he also sank the dragon-slaying platform into his acupoints. Since it's the great demonic god Grek, the scabbard of the heaven-toppling sword suddenly appeared in his cosmos ring. He grabbed it and saw that 3 crimson blood strings were approaching him like 3 bloody shadows. Without any hesitation, he countered with the falling moon slash. Ray after ray of crimson sword light pierced towards the crimson threads. The sharp sword will hidden in the sword radiance, and the sword power that tore through the sky instantly cut the crimson blood line into bits of bloody light. Whoosh! At the same time, the life altar in his body that had been impatient for a long time immediately flew out and turned into a spinning bloody vortex. It completely absorbed the bloody light that originated from Grek. When the blood-red light fell, it was like rain from the heavens, quickly nourishing his life altar. To his surprise, Yu Yuan watched as the specks of blood-colored light condensed into tiny blood crystals and exploded. Then, the wonders of the bloodlines of many beings spread to his life altar to fill up the gaps. He was overjoyed. The great demonic god Grek's life altar was similar to his. It also gathered the refined blood of various races and obtained power from it. It could strengthen one's own strength by comprehending the wonders of other races' blood. The real Grek was trapped in the thousand-bird realm and was in a bad situation. The power he left behind in this world, his remaining will and blood, was carrying out a resurrection ritual. The power Grek left behind could attack the invaders, but it was relatively weak. After it was defeated, it could be consumed and refined by Yu Yuan's life altar, and in turn help Yu Yuan transform his altar. Grek's remaining flesh and blood essence cannot be refined by the Gendo blood prison. Chen Qinghuang noticed that when Yu Yuan used the life altar to receive the bloody light, she beckoned for Yu Yuan to come over. She pointed at the gray ripples of death in front of her and the specks of bloody light that had been attacked and turned into blood crystals. Try not to let it enter the dragon-slaying platform. Yu Yuan left the baleful demon cauldron and flew to Chen Qinghuang's side with his life altar floating in front of his chest. Then, he used his life altar to receive the blood crystals. When the blood crystals fell into the life altar, even more of the race's blood essence turned into a large number of thoughts that were engraved on the altar. The crimson altar became even more translucent, as if it was about to advance to the next level. The bloody light and the blood crystals are the profound truths that Grek comprehended from the blood of the races. You can use the life altar to refine and fuse with it. When the life altar changes, you can immerse your heavenly soul into it and use your heart to comprehend it. You can let your heavenly soul perfectly adapt to it, and it will become your body. Chen Qinghuang explained to him. Princess Qing Luan explained clearly how to refine a yang spirit body. It seemed to be her true feelings. After hearing this, Yu Yuan's eyes lit up. He suddenly realized that the Empress had summoned him here to collect the blood essence that Grek had left behind. He could clearly feel that the blood essence left behind by the patriarch of the blood demon race had helped his life alter transform. He excitedly looked at the other people who were also attacked by the bloody light. When he looked, he suddenly froze. Elder Nora of the Moonlight People, Silver Moon Queen Liupan, and Consort Yu of the ancient moon demons were all covered in a layer of silvery white armor. It was like an exquisitely made armor that fit their bodies perfectly. Moon armor. Yu Yuan was surprised. Then, he noticed that there seemed to be threads of blood in Nora's eyes. The threads of blood were the ones that had attacked him and Qin Qinghuang just now. The thin threads of blood seemed to be eroding Nora's will, tearing at her soul and possessing her body. Nora's face was full of pain. She floated in the air and trembled. She was terrified and powerless, fighting against the threads of blood in her eyes and doing her best to stay awake. However, after watching for a while, Yu Yuan felt that she might not be able to hold on. It was because she was facing the residual power of the great demonic god Grek. It had already invaded her flesh and soul. The moon power we devoured contained Grek's secret power. All of the moon armors were mixed with Grek's power. The crescent moon, artifact that Tan Chun Shan was controlling, was filled with hazy blood energy. The originally silver crescent moon had turned into a bloody moon. He wasn't using his own body to absorb the power in the moon armor. He was using the artifact. Because of this, Grek's will and blood power that had been mixed into the moon armor only poisoned the crescent moon artifacts, not his body and soul. However, Nora, Liupan, and Consort Yu weren't as lucky as him. Other than Nora, Liupan and Consort Yu's eyes were also filled with bloody light. It was just that it wasn't as obvious. Before Tan Junshan had even spoken, the two of them had already known that Grek's power had infiltrated their bodies. They had reacted even faster than Novi had, and had already begun to dissolve and refine the power. The blood light and blood crystals that are useful to you are inside their bodies. They are inside those artifacts. Chen Qinghuang's expression turned cold. Her eyes were filled with the aura of death. She looked at Nora, Liupan, and Consort Yu as if she was looking at dead objects. If they can't break free of Grek's will and remove the essence of Grek's blood with their own power, then we can only kill them to prevent them from being enslaved by Grek and turning into his blood slaves to attack us. She said this matter-of-factly. Nora, Liupan, and Consort Yu, who were being corroded by Grek's residual power, grew even more pained when they heard this. Chapter 11:19. As expected of Grek. Tan Junshan sighed softly. Then, one silver soul shadow after another flew out of his forehead and entered the cold, crescent moons that were hovering in his chest. Every time Tan Junshan's silver soul shadow entered the blood mist and the dark red blood moon, they would undergo changes. Some of Tan Junshan's soul shadows had taken the form of the cold moon that had existed since ancient times, the first moon-devouring ape in this vast heaven and earth, the ancient moon devil in the starry river that could refine the moon. There was even one of Tan Junshan's soul shadows that had taken the form of a primal chaos koan and assumed the posture of devouring the moon. The eyes of his main body also shone with countless icy lights, which interweaved into a mysterious formation pattern. Fizz! Fizz! The dark crimson blood mist inside the crescent moons seemed to be cleansed by pure divine power and driven away by the power he comprehended. Gradually, it condensed into tiny bloody lights and crystals. At this moment, Tan Chun Shan looked at Yu Yuan and said, "You have the ability to refine the essence of Grek's blood. Take it." Yu Yuan, who was still shocked by the situation of Nora and the others, was dumbfounded when he heard Nye Tian's words. Chen Qinghuang said softly, "Listen to him." Okay. Without any hesitation, Yu Yuan controlled the blood-colored vortex on the altar with his soul and flesh aura and flew towards Tan Chun Shan. Tan Chun Shan cooperated with him and summoned the crescent moons to meet up with him. Standing inside the black cauldron, Yu Yi, who was hugging Yu Li, suddenly controlled the cauldron and flew into the sky. Then, she released many fiend demons from the cauldron and charged towards the giant purple gold egg. Both she and Yu Yuan sensed the unusual changes that were taking place inside the purple gold egg. However, if any living being of flesh and blood got too close to the dragon egg of the Titanspinosaurus and the strange heart that contained Grek's blood essence, they would be attacked. She wanted to see if a fiendish devil-like spirit soul would work. She used the low-level fiend devils as her eyes. Even if they turned to dust, she wouldn't feel too bad. Crack crack. Tan Junshan forcibly forced the blood-colored light and blood crystals out of the crescent moons and into Yu Yuan's life altar in the blink of an eye. The joy in Yu Yuan's eyes grew. "Mr. Tan, can you refine the blood essence of the other three?" "No." Tan Chun Shan smiled bitterly. Whoosh. Before Imperial Concubine Moon's eyes changed color, she pulled out the Moon Demon's soul-spirit body and gave up on the body she was trying to seize. The moment Consort Yu's soul left, the soulless body turned back into the King of Bandits, Kaf. Kaf's eyes turned into two balls of red light before he knew it. There are only a few drops of Grek's residual soul awareness in those drops of blood essence. Chen Qinghuang's expression was cold as he explained carelessly, "Since you've left, Grek's remaining power won't be able to exert much of its power no matter how much it corrodes the body of a dead moonlight people." As she spoke, she flew through the air and arrived above Kaf's head. The rippling light that was filled with the will of death drowned Karf, as if it had stimulated the aura of death hidden inside Karf's corpse, and worked together to dissolve Grek's blood essence. Black, tainted blood flowed out of Kaf's 7 orifices without a sound. The tainted blood quickly solidified and turned into pieces. Chen Qinghuang frowned and waved his sleeves in disdain. Thick death energy wrapped around the black, tainted blood clots and flew toward the bloody vortex in Yu Yuan's chest like small black stones. As soon as the black pebbles entered the blood-colored vortex, they exploded. Specks of bloody light and blood crystals once again turned into nutrients that were beneficial to the life altar, imprinting many profound messages into it. "What a loss!" Consort Yu complained. In her soul form, she made a grabbing motion toward Kaf's body. A stream of pure moon energy mixed with many pieces of the moon armor flew out of Karf's body. Wrapped by her devil soul, it drilled into Li Yupan's glabella. It disappeared in a flash. Consort Yu, who was familiar with this process, once again possessed Li Yupan's body. Wrapped in a stream of pure moon energy, she fought against Grek's blood essence inside Li Yupan's body. The ancient moon demon and Grek were both members of the heavenly demon race. She was well versed in many of the blood demon race's secret arts. When she entered Li Yupan's body, their souls resonated almost instantly. Therefore, she temporarily replaced Li Yupan and drew power from Li Yupan's Dantian's spirit sea and blood world. She used the bloodline secret arts of the moonlight people and the divine arts of the moon demon race to attack Grek's mind. Thump! A strong heartbeat sounded again. The fiendish demons released by Yu Yi and sent toward the giant purple gold egg were shaken into balls of gray smoke. Even Kaf's body was affected and exploded. Karf's corpse was scattered around the waist of the moon-devouring ape, and no one paid any attention to it. Surprisingly, the long, serpent-like hairs began to devour Karf's bones. Gradually, they began to give off the scent of flesh and blood. Chen Qinghuang looked expressionlessly at the strange scene in front of him and said, souls and flesh and blood beings can't smoothly approach the dragon egg of the Titanspinosaurus. That was because there was another battle going on. Grek's remaining power and his resurrection ritual have been targeted by someone who came first. When these words were said, Yu Yuan and Tan Chun Shan's bodies shook slightly. There was someone who came first. Before they arrived, someone had already come in to stop Grek from resurrecting? Who could it be? A series of questions appeared in Yu Yuan's mind. He was no longer excited and pleasantly surprised because the life altar had refined Grek's blood essence. Instead, he was worried about what would happen next that would shock him. Should I call Yuanzhan Shan or Chao Yi? Chao Yi, right? Chen Qinghuang stared at the cracked giant purple gold egg, his tone growing serious. You almost killed an Ziqing of the blood god before she stepped into the domain of annihilation. You're really bold to come to the nether maze and find the forbidden land of the blood demons. Oh, is it because you learned some secret from Anzan Shan's memories? The aura of death on the blue phoenix empress slowly changed as she spoke. An extremely dangerous and terrifying aura that wanted to destroy all life rose steadily and quickly became denser. Chao Yi. Yu Yuan's face turned pale with fright. Ignoring the life altar, he sent a part of his nether soul into the baleful demon cauldron that was floating high in the sky. Together with Yu Yi, the cauldron's soul, they examined the cracked eggshell from above, hoping to see something through the cracks. Multicolored light flowed within the giant purple gold egg, along with boundless blood power that surged like waves. Earlier, he had sensed that something was condensing within it, but he had never expected that Xuantianzong's genius from his early years would be hiding within it. After killing Anzan Shan had been imprisoned in the forbidden land of the fallen moons as a crooked devil. Later, after Nye Tian had released him, he had returned to the blood god as the ancestor of the blood god. Not only had he helped Anwen improve his incantations, but he had also helped Anzan Shan improve the blood god's incantations. If he hadn't been exposed in the forbidden land of the fallen moons, this extraordinary figure from Xuantianzong might have had a chance to secretly replace Anwen and interrupt his future path to godhood. Then, as the new sect master of the blood god, he would have been able to stir up trouble on the tranquil continent and take care of many evil deeds that Xuantianzong couldn't do in public. Is it really him? Tan Chun Shan asked in a deep voice. Chen Qinghuang nodded slightly. Yes. Anzan Shan and the first sect master of the blood god were brothers. That's why Anzan Shan knew that many of the blood god's secret blood magics came from the blood demons. A long, long time ago, a grand elder of the blood demons possessed the body of an ancestor of the Yin clan and snuck into Howren to do something in secret. That ancestor of the Yin clan was just as vicious and treacherous as Chao Yi is now. Not only was he not killed, but he even refined that grand elder of the blood demons and mastered many secret blood-refining magics. That's how he created the blood god. Anzan Shan must have learned about the secrets of this place through that grand elder of the blood demons. Unfortunately, Chao Yi has benefited from this. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.